May 3rd City Council meeting order. Mr. Smith, you give us the prayer pledge and back to the day, please, sir.
Let's assume the attitude of prayer. Most gracious and almighty God, our Father, we come once again saying thank you for the many blessings you bestowed upon us and for this opportunity for us to be servants of this city. We ask for your continued guidance as we continue to make a difference in the city where we reside. We pray, O Heavenly Father, for Mr. Ed Bass, that you would continue to heal his body. We pray, Heavenly Father, for the victim of the accident, his family. Oh God, that you would comfort them during the hours of bereavement and that you would give peace to the driver. Oh Heavenly Father, we give you all these things. In thy Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The fact of the day. On May 6, 1851, Dr. John Gorey, a doctor in Apopka, was granted a patent for his ice-making machine. He created an invention because ice was very expensive at the time since it was shipped in. This invention allowed the doctor to make the ice himself. The ice was used with a fan as a way to cool down the sick rooms of malaria patients. This invention led the way for commercial ice-making machines and eventually the development of air conditioning. Back to the day.
Okay. Approval of minutes. Got two sets of minutes from April 5th, April 19th. Motion to approve.
Well, the April 5th on the iPad, it still reads April 4th. And on the regular council meetings of April 19th, there was an amendment, but only one was sent to one of the commissioners. We just all got them.
So what are you asking?
That we table April 19th until we get to read the amendment.
All right, so we have approval of the minutes from the April 5th meeting.
Yes.
Well, so I don't know, I had made edits to that as well, or I had the city clerk add in some additional information on the April 5th. I don't know if that was circulated correctly to
Oh.
everyone.
I'm sorry, and you know what? I apologize. It's the April 5th. That was the one, not April 19th, so I apologize for that. It's the April 5th.
So we'll hold that one for now and then approve the 19th.
Right, correct.
So is that a motion to approve?
Approve the regular council meeting minutes for April 19th, correct.
Motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Do we need to vote separately for the 5th?
I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Yep, sorry.
Do we need a separate motion for the 5th minutes or? No?
Yeah, I guess we'll need a motion to table the
April 5th.
minutes from the April 5th meeting to the next council meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Presentations. Chief Wylam.
It wasn't here, Chief Wylam.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, members of the public. Sean Wylam, Fire Chief, Apopka Fire Department. I'm here today to give our monthly update of our safety and training and ongoings with the fire department within the past month.
Can you get the mic a little closer?
Oh,
See if you
sorry.
can, I think you can probably raise it there, Chief.
I'm maxed out.
Okay.
First thing we want to discuss today is road safety improvements. We came back to you guys a few council meetings back for $20,000 to improve the emergency signals in front of Station 1. On April 27th, we were able to meet with representatives from the Streets Department, some civil engineers, and traffic operations project managers to assess the next steps for the needed improvements for Stations 1 and 3. We targeted 1 and 3 at this time because of, again, Station 1 currently does not have any traffic signal in Station 3 because of the high-risk area and the speeds out at Station 3. Part of that, we discussed multiple ways that we can take care of putting those traffic signals in place and ways to make it a more robust system. Next part of the steps moving forward, we've gathered these informations, and they're going to get back with us and provide us some drawings and things like that, and we're going to make decisions from there. One of the things that was identified at Station 3 while we're out there is when the signal was actually hit to activate, it only activated for 20 seconds. So that was something we were able to correct right away and actually doubled it, increased it to 40 seconds. So it gives us a lot more time for our apparatus to move in and out of the bays. So that's something. Immediate facility needs during April this last month, we did mold and air quality testing at stations 1, 2, 3, and 4. We got those results back. We did some immediate remediation for stations 1 and station 2 and station 4. We are awaiting the post-remediation results. In other words, they did another air quality test post those remediations. We also are in the process of moving forward with replacing the cabinetry and the cooking area with stainless steel. Something we want to make improvements on there. Also, all the tile and grout for all stations was cleaned on April 17th of this year. The ward diesel filter smokes or no smoke systems. You remember last year we were able to put diesel filtration on all of our apparatus. No smoke, so there's differences. There's no smoke and no smoke twos. No smoke twos are applied to any apparatus or diesel apparatus that's 2010 or newer because of the emissions that are already built into those systems. In other words, trucks that use the DEF fluids or the diesel emission fluids. Those filters have no timers on them whatsoever. So they're constantly filtering that and making it safer even on scenes. The apparatus you see here, engine 4, engine 31, brush 1, 2, and 4, hazmat 1, and ambulance 31 all had the regular no smokes. Some of the timers on those were off, and they were only capturing up to 20 seconds. So we increased those to the max full of 60 seconds. So they're capturing for 60 seconds. As soon as the apparatus turns on, exits the bay, then it begins to remove those emissions. Training updates. The first week of April, we did medical director training. The medical directors came out and actually provided all of our crews with some training on cricothyrotomies or emergency airways that we have to do from time to time. The last week in April, they also did some more advanced airway training with all of our crews and a protocol review. Fireside, our crews are currently completing their hands-on training checkoffs as part of their yearly training. And on April 20th, we are participating in a mass casualty drill with Florida Advent or Advent Health. Here's some pictures of that. It was a region-wide drill that simulated a train derailment in our area, and our crews participated with the hospitals. We actually had Apopka High School's health magnet program come out, and they played a lot of the victims. They put on the moulage and had different signs and things that they were able to tell our responders. So system-wide drill, including reporting and transporting to the hospitals, as well as decon. So a lot of it, again, was a real-time drill, and we were able to participate in that. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you for providing those updates. Are you able to give us a brief update on any of our new recruits, the amount, anything like that, what the training looks like?
Yeah, so currently this week, they're doing some of their EMS training. They're in week 3 of their recruit training. First week was a lot of HR-related stuff, getting normal stuff. Broke into, last week they did a lot of they went through the trailer training course that we implemented. That's something they did last week, and this week they're working on EMS stuff.
And how many new starts do we have?
I'm sorry?
How many new starts?
7.
Nice. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Becker? Mr. Velasquez?
No.
Okay.
Hey.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, agenda review. Michael, any changes?
I don't believe there are any changes.
Okay.
So to reference that really quick, the disbursement report for March, number 11, under consent agenda, we did last meeting.
Right,
So that needs to be pulled.
yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay. With that, we're starting the public comment. I want to read out the decorum statement again for the public. Welcome to the public meeting of the City Council of the City of Apopka. Please all turn off all cell phones or set them to silent. It's the policy of the City Council to permit and encourage input and comments by members of the public on all matters which may come before the council for action. If you wish to address the council, please proceed to the podium when called upon and speak clearly into the microphone, stating your name, address of record, organization, if any. Direct your comments to the City Council as a whole and not to individual commissioners, staff, or members of the public. The council and the city staff encourage constructive criticism. However, personal attacks are prohibited. Speakers and members of the audience shall refrain at all times from rude or derogatory remarks, disruptions, reflections as to integrity, slander, abusive comments, profanity, vulgarities, and statements as to personalities. Any violation of these provisions may result in the issuance of verbal warnings. If violations persist after such warnings, violators may be removed from the council chambers. With that, Susan?
Wait, is that something new? What you read?
I read it last week.
No.
2 weeks ago.
No, that didn't sound like the one that.
That's from the resolution 2016.
It was? I didn't remember hearing that. Oh, thank you. Okay. All right, no problem.
Albert McKimmey, 3603 Golden Gem Road, Apopka. Before I get started, I would like to address Mayor Nelson's comments on Fox News 35.
You're
I-
talking to the body as a whole, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll start again. Would you like to start my time again since he's interrupted me? Before I get started, I would like to address Mayor Nelson's comments on Fox 35 News, and I quote, "It takes 3 votes for anything to pass City Council." Brian, we had 3 votes, and Michael Rodriguez is still sitting here. Mayor Nelson claims he does not like to dictate policy. So can he show me documentation in the city legislation that prohibits public right to affirm or reject their sentiment to public comment by non-disruptive applause? If so, then I suggest we resort to sign language to express our opinions. For example,
Perfect.
at last meeting, we requested a forensic audit. We requested that the Fire Safety Committee be reinstated to conform to state statute. We requested that you initiate a workshop to review the city charter. We have currently requested public records that are the basis for ethics complaints and complaints to Florida Bar. By obstructing access to in a timely manner to the information required in furtherance of the recall, we are being denied the opportunity to adequately represent why we wish to recall the mayor. Thank you.
Dennis New?
Dennis New, 105 West Magnolia Street, and this is addressed to the entire council. Okay? Good afternoon. I come here again today as a taxpayer to demand that the Fire Department Safety Committee be directed to resume the investigation into the death of Austin Duran. A complete and comprehensive timeline of the issues needs to be documented to prevent any type of accident from ever happening like this again. Ask yourself why it is that the city attorney and the fire chief appear to have violated state law by stopping the investigation. Or was it that it was terminated by the city attorney because he was unaware of the state statutes regarding fire department operations? More specifically, Chapter 633 of the Florida statutes, regarding fire department safety committees. Why is it the city seems to ignore the Florida Administrative Code 69A62 in its stopping of the safety committee from investigating the death of Austin Duran? Why does this city and its administration seem to flaunt the law when it applies to them and yet continue to quote laws when convenient to them? This afternoon, I asked for the Apopka Police Department to either begin a criminal investigation or turn over to the authority having the proper jurisdiction on the stoppage of the safety committee. An ad hoc committee was supposedly formed, and much like the investigation into the supposed missing EMS funds, nothing ever developed. Nothing was ever reported. It's past time for this city to act responsibly and to be completely transparent as to this investigation. It's time to follow state law. It's time to hold those responsible for the events that led up to Austin's death. Who failed at training? Who failed at supervision? Who ordered and allowed the trailer to be filled back up with sand? If, as the mayor has said on multiple occasions, the trailer was never removed from service, then why was it empty of sand and stored in a shed? It's not about one trailer. It's about responsibility to train properly. It's about the responsibility to maintain equipment properly. It's about responsibility to provide proper supervision. How do the people who are responsible for all this get perfect scores on their annual evaluations? Ask yourself, is this the kind of leadership this city deserves? The answer, I think, is not. As for the interview last evening conducted, the mayor stated it only takes 3 votes. But I guess that's official votes. And since that one was deemed ceremonial, I've dug through the charter looking for the ceremonial vote section, and there's not one. Again, another blatant violation of the city charter to suit one person. So I'm asking now, are today's votes on all the things that are on the agenda, are they ceremonial or are they official? Or won't we know until they're done and one person decides whether he likes the outcome or not? As for having an axe to grind, I don't have an axe to grind. I have a commercial wood chipper to protect this city. And right now, it's not being done by the administration.
Leroy Bell.
Leroy Bell, 2308 Blue Meadows Court, Apopka, Florida. And I start with addressing the whole commission. I remember a while back, one of the commissioners wanted our economical development manager, and one of the commissioners wanted to be part-time to see how would this individual work out before giving a full-time job. But this administration seems to just really don't care. We just appointed as our city manager a gentleman that used to be our police chief and code enforcer. And he went down on the black side of town and condemned 2 houses through his court enforcement, that he put penalties on this, that the city levied fines on. And it went into foreclosure. This gentleman then, with the inspector of the city, got together and formed a group and went to one of the commissioners that sat on this commission as his treasurer at Old Florida Bank. And they sold the property to these 2 individuals and put it in one of the individual wives' name. Is that ethical? Is that somebody that you want to hang around in the city? But this is the type of people that our administration want to bring to serve not our people, but the administration. And it always seems to be, like I say, about making money, putting money into friends' pockets, and not caring about the city as a whole. So I know that there's a recall coming out, and I would, for those that are watching, I would pray that you would get out and sign the petition. As a commission as a whole, I would hope all you guys would sign one, especially the chair. He needs to sign too. Hopefully, we can get something done. Thank you.
Stephanie Scottis Quinn. Is it Stephen? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. How you doing? So I'm not normally the come to the city council and talk kind of a guy, but here I am. So actually today I'm coming to you regarding the Parks and Recreation Department. And actually I'm coming with a thank you, which may be kind of a different thing sometimes at a council meeting. But I just want to thank the Parks and Rec Department for the work they do, especially regarding the Northwest Recreation Complex. One of the reasons, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. Stefan Skalnikin, 4376 Berry Oak Drive, Apopka. One of the reasons my wife moved to this area was that it was close to that recreation complex. It was a big plus for us in the house that we bought. And we spend time there at the amphitheater. My son plays baseball there. He's actually with me today. And one of the things we do there also is play tennis. And that's what I'm actually coming to talk to you about today is tennis. And my wife and I played tennis, throughout the years kind of casually. But when we moved here, she found out that there was an organized tennis organization at those tennis courts, and the name of that organization is called Tennis Galaxy. And they do classes and lessons for people that want to learn more about the game of tennis. So my wife got involved, and then she dragged the rest of the family to get involved in tennis as well. And it's been a wonderful thing for us. It gets us out as a family outside, playing tennis together. It gets us, exercise and all the things that come along with that. And so it's definitely increased our quality of life. So a shout out to Tennis Galaxy for that. A shout out to the city for the work that it does with Tennis Galaxy at that facility. And it also, this organization, Tennis Galaxy, definitely helps out the quality of life for the city, residents of the city of Apopka and for the surrounding areas. I've seen them work with kids. They do amazing instructions with kids, teaching them not just tennis, not just how to hit a fuzzy little yellow ball, but life lessons and how to grow up and how to be productive members of society. As strange as it sounds, but learning competitiveness and learning hand-eye coordination and learning how to deal with loss when it happens is important as kids grow up. And there's even from young to old. There's a lady in one of my classes. She's 80 years old, and she still hits shots that I can't hit back sometimes because she's really good at tennis. And so I appreciate the work that they do. And that the work they do has increased tennis awareness in the area, so much so that we do have a bit of a traffic jam sometimes at those tennis courts. And we have 4 courts to serve a very large area of Apopka and the surrounding area. So I know we can't snap our fingers and make tennis courts show up tomorrow, brand new ones, but I would encourage the city to consider that there is a capacity problem with tennis courts there. It would be amazing if we got some more courts over there to help alleviate some of the traffic jam that we have there. So I know for myself and my family, looking forward to many more years of tennis over at the recreational complex. Part of my retirement program is that my son continues to learn tennis, becomes a professional, and helps my wife and I retire. It's the hope of any parent with their kid. But I will say this in closing. Part of the mission of the rec department is to enrich the lives of the citizens of Apopka. I think that the recreational complex is doing an amazing job with that, and Tennis Galaxy is a part of that complex, and the work they're doing is really also enriching the lives of the citizens of Apopka. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Venus Griffin. My name is Venus Griffith. I'm in Clear Lake Estates subdivision. I want to say I went to the South Apopka meeting a few weeks ago, and I want to say that Sylvester is doing an excellent job out there and leading the people. So Sylvester, keep going. Do what you do. The other thing I want to talk about is, I'm sorry, Mr. Austin, I wasn't here for you, but his son, I had been away, but I've been looking at every meeting, and it's a shame that this man had to come every meeting, and his family is hurting. He cannot grieve because of what happened. And I'm telling you right now, it's very bad when you can't grieve the proper way. It's very angry that you have a death on your hand and liability on your hand. Now, when I was a nurse, what happened? Anybody did anything wrong as a nurse to a child, we called the cops and had that nurse arrested because that's a liability. I don't know why he's not arrested. I don't know why investigation is not there. Mr. Austin cannot, his son will not be a father. His son will not be an uncle. His son will never marry. His son will never be a grandfather. His son, he cannot hug him anymore. His son will not be chief of the fire department. This is something that you all have blood on your hands, because I could not even grieve until you guys did something at Clear Lake Estates subdivision. And I think this is wrong. I think you all need to do something about it, or suspend him and then some investigation. Do something. Do something quickly so this family could heal from a problem that should never happen.
Narette Turan.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Narette Turan, former General Employee, Public Services Department, Design Engineering Division. Last time I addressed this Council, I discussed the travesty unfolding in the Public Services Department. The absence of qualified checks and balances that exist for the sole purpose of adhering to adopted policy. The current Public Services Director is here today, and he has abused his power with malicious intent to terminate me. It has come to my attention that for over a year, Public Services Management has been aware of outright threats to my employment. Apparently, at a minimum, the director desired me to be retitled, or as he put it, ship me to the field, and at a maximum, to terminate me. His apparent hatred for my title as an engineer is evidence of a vendetta. I am a licensed engineer. I'm proud of it. That is because I have shown competency and fitness in the practice of engineering to the satisfaction of the Florida Board of Professional Engineers, period. Clearly, this director is confused about my duties and responsibilities. Clearly, this director is confused about the definition of responsible charge as an engineer of record. My projects over the years have required me to be in the field, in the heat, in the cold, in the rain, and whatever other weather conditions. On those days that I inspect work and assess and mitigate unknowns, to ultimately take responsible charge of my projects, the projects I have been assigned. Clearly, Clearly, this director does not see the value of all employees, whether in the field or in the office, and the role we all play in the objective of the Public Services Department, which is to own and maintain all the assets of this city in perpetuity. So I'm an engineer. I am proud to build, not destroy. This director is constantly telling staff to take a look at themselves, or as he puts it, search their souls to see if their heart is not in the work. As a public servant, we accept this as a thankless job, but never an at-will job, so long as government policy exists. As I expressed in my rebuttal to my termination, I am appalled at the malice and the vindictiveness of this director, who has destroyed an overwhelmingly friendly and cooperative public services department. The director states his reason for his decision to terminate is because I created disharmony. Truly, such a statement is clear evidence that this man sees a completely different reality than what a reasonable person would see. Professional disagreement is the oil in the machine and a checks and balance that we should never take for granted. Truth, respect, and accountability are cornerstones of the engineering community. I'm going to go over my time. Can I be given one more minute?
Thank you.
No?
No, I motion that we do give him the amount of time to finish.
It's the third time he's been to city council.
I motioned it, so.
Second.
Is that enough? I don't. Okay. It is by adhering to these fundamentals of truth, respect, and accountability that projects like the Kitland Nelson restrooms, the Kitland Nelson splash pad, the Kitland Nelson park improvements, the Alonzo William park improvements, the Billy Dean Community Center, the Brush Drive extension, the Kelly Park sidewalk have all been accomplished, have all been what I have overseen or what I have designed. It is not to mention all the utility projects that the public will never see. This is a harmony that I brought to public services and other departments. When unqualified persons are given duties and responsibility, or worse, power, they will derelict policy. They will attempt to rewrite policy to the detriment of everyone. I implore you yet again to see the errors and omissions here. Who among you thought that it was a myth that the employee would follow policy? Why does HR treat a rebuttal afforded by policy as a useless formality instead of testimony of evidence of abuse of power? I leave you with one question and an answer. What qualifies as a reasonable request? If you answer anything, then this is the leadership you have been looking for. I pray you answer something else.
Sylvester Hall.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sylvester Hall, 3091 Rolling Hills Lane, Apopka, Florida. I'm gonna try to get through this for 4 minutes here real quickly so I can cover everything I need to cover. But I want to talk to everybody in front of me and everybody around me. The city of Apopka, the state of Florida, and our country is in a state of emergency. It's in a state of emergency because good people are sitting around watching bad things happen and not saying anything about it. Most of you are here today, you're looking to carry on your agenda, then once you leave here, you don't really care what goes on. It's not you, so you don't care what's going on. And it's sad. It's a sad state for us to be as a city, as a state, and as a country. Every day, a young man, a young lady, mother, father get up, don a uniform to serve and protect our country. And on Veterans Day, the first thing you hear is thank you for your service. Well, if you thank me of 21 years, when I hear that, I thank you for acknowledging that. But I also say we have a civic duty. We have a civic duty and a responsibility to stand up for unfairness, injustice, and speak out. And so I got this slide up here, and I have put it up here 2 or 3 times. It's the last election. We had over 35,000 registered voters at that time. Figures may have changed a little bit. But you see the number of votes the mayor got, the number of votes Commissioner Becker received, and you see 28,000 people declined to even cast a vote. That precious vote that people have died for. So we get, when you say, what's wrong with the politician? Ain't nothing wrong with him. You get what you pay for. You pay your taxes. Demand the best service that you can get. That's what you pay your taxes for. Everybody else have a lobbies, they do that. But we don't do that as a people. And that's why we fall short of supporting our neighborhood and our fellow citizens. Nothing in this world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. So you look at the stuff that happened, you can't blame people when they don't know. But now when they know, when you know better, you should do better. And that's a problem you see from this administration over and over and over again. They claim ignorance. They don't know. And that's a problem. And what I was addressing at the beginning of the slides, there's a consequences for our inaction. There's a consequence. And we're going to wake up one day and find ourselves living in a country that we don't even know no more. Because we're being desensitized slowly but surely. When we normalize the abnormal, we come desensitized to the truth. So when you hear the truth, it don't bother you anymore. It don't shake you up anymore. And that's a problem.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Appreciate it.
I'd like to finish, Mayor.
No, we're done. Thank you. We are done. No. Oh my gosh.
I said these things.
No, no, we're done. We're done. So Mr. Hall, we're done. We're done.
Okay, this is what we get. I will sit down. Mayor, let me let you know now. I raised my hand 30.
I understand. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hall. Appreciate it. All right. Let's go, Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall, sit down. Sit down.
Recall. You want to fight? I'll give you a fight.
David Hoffman. David Hoffman.
Recall.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is David Hoffman. I live at Rock Springs Ridge, and my wife and I have lived in Apopka for 23 years. The title of my comment today is "A House Divided Against Itself Cannot Stand," and "Democracy, like the Civil Rights Movement, is a never-ending struggle." I'll repeat that title one more time. Democracy, like the Civil Rights Movement, is never-ending struggle. Now let's go from there. Excuse me. Recalls of elected officials at any level are considered a drastic solution for alienated voters. Such is the case here in Apopka. A group of citizens led by Dennis New, along with at least a couple of Rock Springs Ridge residents apparently, are aiming to remove Mayor Brian Nelson for a perceived variety of wrongdoings and abuses of power. As a citizen of our community, Rock Springs Ridge, I'm here today once again to defend our community. How so? The framers of this petition, listing the mayor's sins and offenses, include the charge that he should be removed for helping Rock Springs Ridge residents in our effort to prevent overdevelopment, a saga that has been going on for 14 years. Say it again, 14 years. We reasonably expect Mayor Nelson to be involved because he leads city government that determines zoning and land use issues which affect our fate. Thus, in the view of Dennis New and his ilk, the mayor's role in trying to help his constituents solve a thorny, never-ending challenge is an unpardonable sin. Mayor Nelson, you should be involved at Rock Springs Ridge, and so should you commissioners. As elected officials in what is at least a nominal democracy, you serve, would you not agree, at the pleasure of your constituents, the voters. One of your key job descriptions, democracy would compel, is to do constituent service. So Dennis New's consortium wants to punish the mayor for practicing democracy? So dystopian, but also perfectly in line with America's here and now fraught times, when democracy is on life support, on a ventilator. I think I can back that up. In Florida, democracy is dying. That there may be Rock Springs residents sitting on Dennis New's committee or associated with the committee, which includes an effort to forestall our HOA board's efforts to save our community, is so surreal, so ironic. Finally, Apopka is a strong mayor form of governance. The mayor enjoys a wide range of decision-making prerogatives that are not legally shared by part-time commissioners, an inescapable reality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca Wilson. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Rebecca Wilson, 215 North Eola Drive. As you all know, I represent Southwick Commons, and we are pleased that our financing is moving forward, and we're eager to wrap up the staff approvals since we've already encountered significant delay. And so I'm here today to ask you all to direct staff to place on the next agenda the discussion on balconies As you all may know, we have our Master Development Plan, our MDP, and because we're part of the development agreement, that is approved just by staff. We are having a disagreement over the size of the balconies with staff. They've determined that that needs to come to this council for your consideration, and we would just ask that that be on the next agenda. And then the next is, since we have run into so many delays, we just request that staff review our master development plan concurrently with our construction site plans and our building permits. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have. Thank you.
Ms. Wilson, I plan on bringing this up during council reports. I just want to be respectful of the public comment period.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Got 10 consent agenda items. A motion to approve the 10 consent items.
I just need to pull the 6-month budget actual again. And it's my fault that I sent a lot of questions yesterday to staff, and it's going to take a little bit more time for them to get back to me. And again, that's exclusively my fault, so I just need to pull that one more time, please.
I'm sorry, which number?
It's
was
number
it?
10.
Number 10?
So look for a motion to approve the non-consent agenda items, and we'll
You have.
9 with the 10th one we're going to push off till next commission meeting.
No,
So,
that's true.
look for a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, award a contract to Morgan Stanley for investment advisory services.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Before you, business item number 1 is authorization to award a contract to Morgan Stanley for investment advisory services. As I shared with you at the last meeting, we had 10 firms that were following the proposal, and 3 firms submitted no bid. 7 firms submitted proposals. 2 of those 7 were considered non-responsive, and we were down to 2 that were running very close, which is Morgan Stanley and PMA Asset Management. And based on the years of services, we went with Morgan Stanley. So at this time, requesting your authorization to award to Morgan Stanley.
Well, any questions for Blanche?
Just quick, we discussed a lot about this, and obviously this was a lot of my reasoning, or this is up because of me, which I'm happy with. The quicker the better with this. I think Treasury bills today, 6-month T-bills at 5%, so it's a lot of money with us not investing in that. So the quicker we get these people involved and in our financials, the better it is for all of us.
Okay?
Thank you.
Now, was your guy, was he listed?
Yes.
He's
Okay.
listed first trial.
Okay. All right. Okay, any other questions for Blanche? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this motion? If not, we'll look for a motion to award a contract to Morgan Stanley for investment advisory services. Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Major Development Plan, Miller's Ale House.
Can I, if the chair will indulge me for a second, can I just make a quick statement regarding, we've had people come into these chambers, and sorry, Gene, you may just want to sit for like 2 seconds. We've had people come into the chambers, public people, residents that are concerned about, growth and development within the city of Apopka. And they've asked us as a body to, put our position out there about what we think about development, what our stance is on growth. And so I wanted to read a quick comment or a quick statement that at least gives you full transparency about where my head is at. I think it reflects some of the same stances that my fellow colleagues up here might have as well. I certainly don't want to speak for anybody else, but I just want to make a quick statement on when we talk about development, because we are such a fast-growing city. This is not going to shore up or evaporate anytime soon, this talk about development and growth. So real quick, several members of the public and frequent visitors to these chambers have asked us to provide our stance on development and how we ponder the effects of these developments on our community. First and foremost, I must make clear and remind anyone who has ever voted for me or I've spoken to during a campaign is the fact I have never said nor implied I am anti-growth. In fact, growth and development is exciting to me because it means we are building a city that will be relevant and sustainable for generations to come, provided it's done in a balanced and well-managed manner. I firmly support property owner rights, whereas if a property owner has the entitlements needed to carry a development forward within the constraints of our city codes and the vision we have for Apopka, then that is their right. And our duty as council and as your commissioner is to ensure their development is respectful of existing and/or abutting property owners, our city code, and that the city is equipped and staffed to meet the demands of these new developments. If anyone in here lives in a planned neighborhood, which I'm sure many of you do, like myself, or our other 56,000 fellow residents, the homes and the lives that we've made here in Apopka today were inevitably at one time looked at with displeasure and disdain from longer-term residents about the implications of our new neighborhoods and what that would pose for the future well-being of Apopka. We have long voiced displeasure in Apopka's ability to attract dining, shopping, and entertainment locations. Part of my hypothesis, and I think it was shared with the board up here on a majority level, was the absence of a proven economic development program, which we've since created the department and hopefully we'll get staffed soon. But the other part of that is residential densities and mixed uses that make it attractive for the types of business entities our residents want close to home. And unfortunately for the people in here that talk frequently about it, daily vehicle counts is one of those primary metrics for businesses to select locations like Apopka. But to put a label on Apopka to say we are closed for business in terms of new development would do irreparable harm to our city, both reputationally and financially. I agree we have to be respectful to our partners such as OCPS. However, the most recent data supported by our school board member, which she sent actually timing-wise just a couple days ago, and let me just pull it up real quick so I have it in front of me. Data provided by our school board members suggests our schools are in relatively healthy numbers in terms of capacity with certain callouts. Lakeville Elementary School is at 126% capacity. Apopka Elementary is at 116%. Wolf Lake Middle at 109%. But all of these are generally in line with what is tolerable from an OCPS perspective. Now we have to lean on them and make sure that they're building and they have their capital plans sufficient to our development needs. And there's some puts and takes that will happen here. Obviously, the Kelly Park School is going to load balance some of the capacity from Wolf Lake Elementary and Wolf Lake Middle School. But we're cognizant of that fact, and we need to be healthy in our relationship with our school board, which I think all of us are. Their use of portables, I know that's been a topic of conversation, but that's a facility strategy that is a decision of the OCPS board, not our city. With all that said, my personal priority related to development and growth is straightforward. Fight to adequately staff departments tasked with public safety, public services, and people movements based on the development types we have approved, because some of them are very unique, whether it be industrial or commercial, or high-rise multifamily. Public safety and public services, for the most part, should be handled during budget cycles. However, we need to be able to show residents command of our people movement, otherwise known as our transportation strategy, in real time. Something that is not currently readily available today from an official artifact perspective, i.e. a plan, report, or located on our website, but it's something that's being worked on. This is where a large time investment should be made as we contemplate development, ensuring our residents know staff and council has command of traffic movements, patterns, road conditions, areas for increased capacity, intersection concerns, and redesign potential. Ms. Richmond has an enormous task. And I, as well as fellow council members, have all stressed interest in this being a topic of, obviously great concern and prioritization. And I think it's one of the biggest keys directly related to the development conversation on aggregate, in reassuring and assuring residents we can adequately accommodate the growth Apopka will, not my opinion, but will continue to see. A number of, Commissioner Nesta and Commissioner Velasquez were in the council chambers last night as we discussed the industrial development. And again, the primary topic of conversation was, traffic concerns, traffic movements. But with all that said, I'm always willing to meet individually outside of council, as I know every single person on this board has committed to as well. So I just, the point of that statement is I always want to be fully transparent of the people that ask of it, whether or not they agree with all of us all the time. That's a different story. But I do think that we've stressed up through that transportation and people movement is of utmost concern when we're contemplating these developments. So, but that's, I'll yield.
Thank you. Can I have a copy of that? Susan will make a copy for us. You make copies for us. Thanks.
Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This is a request to approve the Miller's Ale House Major Development Plan. The project property is located at 505 and 555 East Main Street on the northeast corner of McGee Avenue and US 441, approximately 2.27 acres in size. The Miller's Ale House Major Development Plan proposes a restaurant use with 7,202 square feet of area in the MUD Mixed-Use Downtown Zoning District. As part of the executed development agreement for the city center, of which the property is part, the project is not subject to city council approval. However, the applicant has chosen to undergo the MDP public hearing process to introduce the intent of restaurant use on the subject properties based on public interest. The applicant will address all applicable code standards at the construction site plan review process. This project will have access via McGee Avenue and cross-access with the previously approved Winn-Dixie supermarket site to the east, which was approved and has approved access points on Monroe Avenue and US 441. The DRC recommends approval. At its meeting on April 11, 2023, Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the major development plan. The recommended motion is to approve the Miller's Ale House Major Development Plan. Staff is available for questions.
Any questions for Jean?
Just a quick one. Are they working very diligently to get their permits in before July 1st? Is that a goal of theirs?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
What I found interesting in your project summary, if you can just speak to that, is that it says, as part of the executed development agreement for city center, of which this property is part, the project is not subject to city council approval.
Right.
So can you speak to that as to?
That was the DA executed before my time here. I did get, I think when we first started here, a cursory look at the development agreement based on what we had to review. But as I understand it, none of the projects, including the Hilton Hotel, that is obviously right there on McGee, is subject to city council approval.
Does that apply to the Southwick also? That's part of the.
Correct.
So in reality, doesn't need our approval to move forward.
No, but it has been determined historically for city center projects, since the master plan has been adopted, to present it to city council, so city council and the public can anticipate what's coming.
Was there something written to that effect?
I'm sorry?
Was there something in writing to that effect?
As I understand it, it's on the DA. That's what's in writing.
Okay. Then can we take that out from future project summaries, that line? I see her shaking her head back there saying no.
Can
I don't know.
regurgitate my understanding? So the developers agreement basically alludes to the fact that anything within the
City
parameters
center.
of the city center from a developers agreement definition, as long as it meets code, there's a provision in there that does not require staff to come to city council for approval. However, years ago, we had commitment that if there was anything considered controversial, that staff would feel more comfortable bringing it back to city council for approval. Not that I would view Miller's Ale House as controversial, but I think that's how I'm looking at it. Is that correct?
Yeah, Jim Head, Community Development Director. That's exactly what we were looking at, is if there's whatever project we have in the city center, because of the development agreement, it does not require your actual approval, but we wanted to make sure that you were apprised of any development. And if there's any questions regarding any of the developments, that, again, you get that opportunity to look at it, ask questions, and see the projects as they come out to the city center itself.
But to add to that then too, if we deny it, it could still move forward.
Correct.
So this truly is ceremonial.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But it's also my understanding, though, that if the applicant is proposing something that is kind of a gray area in our code that we have the right, we reserve the right to bring it up to city council to decide.
And by the way, we probably would not do this type of an agreement again for the future because staff does like having the ability to bring it before planning commission and city council for approvals, especially something of this type of nature or larger projects so that you all can see what's doing there and also get that say-so.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Not anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve the major development plan for Miller's Ale House.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, major development plan, Crossroads at Kelly Park, Phase 3.
Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This is a request to approve the Crossroads at Kelly Park Phase 3 multifamily tract MFP21 Major Development Plan. The project site is located north of Kelly Park Road, east of Round Lake Road, and west of Effie Drive, approximately 15.4 acres in size. The major development plan proposes the development of 324 multifamily units. The Crossroads at Kelly Park development for which a master plan was approved by City Council on November 2, 2022 encompasses a mixture of multifamily units, single-family detached units, and commercial uses. This MDP details one of the proposed multifamily portion in the Crossroads at Kelly Park development. The applicant is required to have 597 parking spaces and are providing 598 that includes surface, garages, on-street, and 12 accessible spaces. 11 four-story apartment buildings are depicted on the proposed MDP. The applicant also includes an open space program that is 2.58 acres in size, consisting of pocket parks, dog park, a pool, and clubhouse. The proposed landscaping contains a mixture of canopy trees such as red maples, southern live oaks, and understory trees such as birch and holly trees in the buffer. The main access points to this multifamily development continue to be on the Kelly Park Road via Spine Road. Cross-access connections are proposed on the north, east, west, and southern boundaries. This is the proposed architectural renderings that meet the city's development design guidelines and the intent of the KPI form-based code design. The DRC recommends approval at its meeting on April 11, 2023. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the major development plan. The recommended motion is to approve the major development plan. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Any questions for Jean?
This developer is part of the pioneering agreement for the
Yes.
roads? Okay.
Yep.
Do we know when that's coming back? Timeline on that? Sorry. If
The
not,
pioneering agreement, you mean?
yeah.
Okay, I will.
If not, if no's the answer, if we don't know, then that's okay. I just know time is of the essence.
I'd hope to bring it on the 17th, but it won't come to June 3rd because I don't have Jacob changed jobs, and I need to get something in front of y'all, and it didn't make it on this agenda. So it'll come on the 17th, and if we can get everything together by June 7th, that's when you'll see it. We're substantially finished. We're still working out a few things, but yeah, it was the plan to bring it at the next meeting.
Okay. Awesome.
happy.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing it.
All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Come on up, Mr. Hoffman.
With this project, the information provided to the public, 300 multifamily units, 15.15 acres. Are the units apartments, condos? What are they?
Apartments.
They're apartments. So they're rental, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I'd be curious to know what kind of rent is going to be charged, whether one bedroom, two bedroom, whatever the case may be. But those of us paying attention know that in Orlando, rents are skyrocketing. So I'm going to say this. I'll say this as a citizen. I object to the approval of this kind of project. And I'll tell you why. It's a major driver of income and wage inequality in America. And that's getting worse all the time. And that's what this is right here. It's a zero-sum game. The developer is going to win. Those who have to rent those places, they're going to lose. And that's the truth.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion.
As a part-time commissioner, I would not agree with that unsubstantiated claim, but that's just me.
All right. Look for a motion to approve the Crossroads at Kelly Park Phase 3 multifamily tract MF-P2-1.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Major Development Plan Crossroads at Kelly Park, Future Development Tracks FD1 and FD3.
Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This is a request to approve the Crossroads at Kelly Park FD1 and FD3 Major Development Plan. This is located in the same area as the previous item, north of Kelly Park Road, east of Round Lake Road, and west of Effie Drive. This portion is approximately 15.1 acres in size. This portion of the previously approved Crossroads at Kelly Park is within the Kelly Park Interchange Form-Based Code area and within the Transition Overlay District. The major development plan proposes the development of 300 multifamily units. The Crossroads at Kelly Park development, for which the master plan was approved, was on November 2nd, 2022. The applicant is required in providing 552 parking spaces that includes surface tandem, garages on street, and 12 accessible spaces. 7 four-story apartment buildings are depicted in the proposed major development plan. The applicant also includes an open space program that has 2.4 acres in size and consists of a park, dog park, a pool, and a clubhouse. The proposed landscaping contains a mixture of canopy trees of southern live oaks, bald cypress trees, and understory trees consistent with the previous item. The foundation landscaping materials adjacent to buildings are birch and crepe myrtle trees. The main access points to this multifamily development is also on Kelly Park Road with a connection leading to Effie Drive. Cross-access connections are provided on northwest and south project boundaries. Architectural renderings meet the development design guidelines of the city as well as the Kelly Park Interchange Form-Based Code design guidelines. The DRC recommends approval at its meeting on April 11, 2023. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the major development plan. The recommended motion is to approve the Crossroads at Kelly Park FD1 and FD3 major development plan. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Any questions for Jean?
I just have one.
Sure.
Where it lists the surrounding,
So,
it says
know-
that there's a Winn-Dixie.
no, this is in the Kelly Park Form-Based Code area. You probably kind of remember this. It gets a little bit,
The staff report states it.
Yeah, it
CE.
says there's a Winn-Dixie to the east and a place of worship
oh,
to the north.
apologies for that. We will
Automobile service
correct it.
station. I haven't been out there in a while, but
I apologize for that. Staff will correct it for the record.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Jean? Okay. Anybody from the,
I just want to, in preparation of additional comment, again, the die was cast in this area 20 years ago. I mean, when this interchange came to Apopka at the Kelly Park interchange, that die was cast. The development of regional impact, the form-based code is all predicated in this area of having high density property. So, I mean, we can sit up here and come to lecture and feel free to. It's just, you know, this was the master plan for this area. So I just wanted to remind people of that.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion. Come on.
This kind of building in progress, I guess, is inevitable. And like you said, 20 years ago, it was approved. So for 20 years, this city has had the ability to start planning for it. Our fire department is understaffed. Our police department is understaffed. The closest station to that area out there doesn't have an aerial truck. You're building, and I'm sure there'll be wood construction, 4-story tinder boxes, whether they have fire suppression systems built in or not. My concern, beyond the schools, which is addressed, beyond the economic issues that it's going to create, which this gentleman addressed just right, what are we going to do about the fire department? An apartment fire in one building out there, that's not a single aerial fire. That's a double aerial fire. Okay? Are we going to deplete our fire department to fight one fire? Because that's what will happen. We don't have the staffing or the manpower. So the only thing I'm saying is, what plans are the city making? We're still not up to the national standard of 4 personnel per truck, let alone the amount of apparatus we're going to need to cover that area. You're talking about over 600 apartments in just those 2 projects. You've probably never had the occasion to be on a 4-story wood structure fire. I have. You don't have enough men if you called in all of your shifts to handle one fire. Not happening. Because once it starts in an apartment and it spreads, it's going to spread like wildfire through there, regardless of fire stops and NFPA standards and everything else. Facts are facts. Wind blows it and it spreads. You're going to have a loss of life if you're not prepared for it. So what are we doing as a city to prepare our public services? Are we making plans to increase the police department? Because with the socioeconomic thing that's going to come out of the renters is going to be an increased workload on the chief and deputy chief in the police department. It's going to be an increased workload on the fire department. Are we going to plan for that? Or just keep blaming the county and the state?
Sylvester Hall, 3901 Rolling Hills Lane. These are things that I talked about before for us having a consultant, but we have our fire chief. Dennis New shouldn't be pointing out things like that. We got the fire chief sitting right behind us, and he don't bring it up as an issue. That's where we see the failure of leadership and the concern that the citizens have. So if the fire chief can come up and add some input or some output, whatever you want to call it, to Mr. New's concerns, I think would be warranted for everybody to hear that.
Anybody else from the public want to speak on this matter? Okay. We'll close.
Well, I mean, with that said, I mean, what's your plan for that?
Well, we do. We have a site with Orlando Health. I think they have a 40-acre site that they've dedicated enough room for us to put Fire Station 7 there. It's
When will that come online?
I think we've just got to look at when things get. I would think probably next 2 years, 3 years, somewhere in that. Would that be fair assumption, Chief? Yeah.
I know during DRC meetings, and I would highly recommend you guys pull the recordings of all those. The police chief has been referencing very specifically each new project that the DRC will approve or recommend for approval. He will notate this new project will take 0.7 new officers. This new project will take 3.4 new officers. So he's running a tally.
Sure.
He's adding up. So it's there, and it's we need to be ready to budget for that appropriately as well.
And I'm assuming this stuff is going to be coming to budget, right?
Yeah. No, sure. It's open. We didn't close public comment. Sure.
Hi, Lance Price, 22 Santa Gertrudis Drive, Apopka, Florida. Commissioners, Mr. Nelson, thank you for letting me come up real quickly. Subject matter expert is a very key word that's used when you're in a professional status. Subject matter expert to me would be the fire chief. If a fire chief is asked questions that is related to his job and he cannot give the community the answers that has been asked by the community, then why is he the fire chief? Thank you for your time.
Do I have to state my name again? Okay. As everybody know, Apopka has one hospital. If we have a disaster here in Apopka, that hospital cannot accommodate everybody or even 25%. I went there to the emergency not too long ago, and I was there 12 hours for nothing. And if you have people here, especially like on Binion Road, we are really crowded out there. And you're building, but you're not building hospitals. You're building food courts. So if people my age, because I'm a senior citizen, they're going to have heart attacks one day. They're going to have strokes. Trauma center. That's not a trauma center out here. And I am afraid that something bad will happen and you cannot accommodate them. So if we have a bad hurricane this year and some tragedy will happen, especially on Binion Road, what will happen? Because Chief has no answer. He's not coming up to say anything. So I vote to get rid of him. Anybody else?
Anybody else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve the Crossroads at Kelly Park Phase 3 multifamily tracks MF-P2-1.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance 3001. Pam Richmond.
Ordinance number 3001. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending Chapter 22, Article 3, Sections 22-48, intent and purpose of Article 22-50, definitions, and 22-54, rate schedule of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Apopka relating to road impact fees, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Any changes? No changes, Mayor. Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter?
That's the vote.
Good afternoon. My name's Jennifer Koch. I'm here on behalf of Pulte Home Company, 401 Vineland Road, Orlando. Mayor, Commissioners, I thank you for your public service. While we at Pulte do support the increase in the city's transportation impact fees, we understand that you do need that. I am here to request that you put a vesting condition in the ordinance. When companies like Pulte come in and develop subdivisions, we're often here much earlier than when you see the actual structure start going up vertically. And so our budgets are conducted years in advance of that. And so, as you know, you are already limiting the number of building permits. So I'm here to see if there is something that we can work out where the projects are vested perhaps for subdivisions at construction plan approval, or if there's a way to do some sort of prepayment for projects that are so far down the pipeline. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Pam, do you want to, and then Michael, any Any thoughts from you?
There are a couple things. The first thing is we've removed that 10 applications per day. So I fully expect on June 30th, somebody's going to come in and drop however many permits on it. And that's right. They should do that if they can. But these have to be completed, permittable applications. They can't just, half do something just to get in to beat the deadline. And with regard to any kind of phasing or vesting, I had that discussion with my consultant, who is an expert in this area. And his conclusion is, because the way the law is written about we had to do the special needs assessment, that we could be shooting ourselves in the foot, and then we're stuck with however we kind of phase things in. And as far as vesting, if we do it for one, then we have to do it for everyone. I've been very vocal for the last year that we're going to do this. So it's not a secret. I sit at DRC and say, just so you know, the impact fees are going up. So I don't think it's in the best interest of the city. At some time, you have to say, these are the impact fees. We haven't updated them since the early 2000s. We cannot accomplish what we need to accomplish by not raising the impact fees. So my request to you is that though I have sympathy for people's budgets, but we are still even lower than Orange County, and this should not be unexpected to anyone.
I just had a quick question for Pam. So in that scenario where they do drop off 100 permits June 30th or 100 applications, as long as they're perfected with the fees attached to them, so to speak, those qualify for the reduced, or they need to be approved first. Walk me through that process, I guess.
As long as they are submitted before July 1st and they are completed applications that we could issue a permit for,
Then those will
yes.
qualify.
But if we go through them and 50% of them are 50% completed, no, those will have to be resubmitted. They'll come back in on July 1st. That is my fear of raising that. So all of a sudden now we have hundreds of applications that are not complete. It's already going to, we're happy to do it. I guess I should say, I'm not complaining about that, but but for someone just to submit something as a placeholder, because they know they have to come back and do more work just to get the reduced fee, no, it has to be something that we can actually issue a permit for.
Understood.
Any other questions? Okay, all right. Okay, anybody else from the public?
Albert McKimmey, 3603 Golden Gem Road. Whilst I'm also in favour of the increase in impact fees, it does confuse me a little bit how we can address where those impact fees go when we are speaking about large amounts of impact fees for Golden Gem Road, several thousand impact fees for Golden Gem Road, but as yet, Golden Gem Road is the responsibility of Orange County. So how do we intend to attribute which impact fees go where and how they're going to be attributable when as yet there has been no recommendation by the city whether or not they're going to adopt Golden Gem Road? I recently hear, and it's only rumor because you guys are the people who know the facts, that Orange County have offered City of Apopka $2.8 million to adopt parts of Golden Gem Road. Pam's latest figures at the last meeting was that she now believes that a road will cost $4 million per mile to do whatever you need to do it. Prior to that, it was approximately 1.2 million. So Golden Gem Road, for example, which is a 2-mile long stretch of road, was originally going to be $2.4 million to rehabilitate, in whoever's words, we're going to use it with the word rehabilitate. Now we're looking at $8 million. But what we're saying is $8 million is the current fee. But there's nothing to say that Golden Gem Road is going to have anything major done to it for 5 years. So we shouldn't be looking at $8 million. We should be looking at considerably more than that. And since Orange County is only offering I believe $2.8 million, the residents of Apopka are going to have to come up with in excess of $6 million if you, the committee, decide to adopt Golden Gem Road. If you do decide to adopt Golden Gem Road, I'm asking you, what gives you the right to determine an arbitrary line on Golden Gem Road where one resident is going to have upgraded roads and a resident at the other end of the street isn't? So I would ask, if you are going to adopt the road, at least give it consideration that you need to have a whole lot more than 2.8 million from Orange County. And that if you're going to treat the road as a road, let's have it fair and equitable for all residents. Simply because I live at the south end of Golden Gem Road, which isn't part of the new flagship development area, why should I have to suffer? If you were to grant me planning permission to alter my properties, then the impact fees would come to you. In other words, anything that I do, my taxes come to the city. Why should I not be treated as anyone else in the city? If you differentiate between one end of Golden Gem Road and the other end of Golden Gem Road, you're setting up inequalities. And that's something I would like you to address.
Dennis New, 105 West Magnolia. I understand the impact fees going up, and I don't disagree with that because I think they should do it. I understand the impact that it's going to have on builders. I don't disagree with that. But here's the problem. As proven by the apartments over here, by the Faircloth House, we don't have a litigation department to withstand the fight if we pay favor to one developer on delaying or altering the impact fees. Where are we going to stand in litigation? I understand that lawsuit's going to cost us over $300,000 in legal fees, not to mention the amount that we had to pay for the attorney to represent the city instead of our attorney. So how much are we going to be on the hook to fight if we give one developer any kind of exception when the other developers find out and then they start suing us for it? So the taxpayer is going to be on the hook, or the insurance carrier is going to be on the hook. How long is the insurance carrier going to put up with paying legal fees from things that could have been prevented? So if we're going to go up on the impact fees, there needs to be a deadline. And Pam is obviously overworked, along with the building department and the permitting people, who are only able to process 10 at a time from individual builders. It should say something along the line of the same thing I pointed out about the fire department. Where was the planning for the city's staffing? Why is only one department fully staffed? If they get 10 permits at a time and they can process 10 and they're fully staffed, that's an indicator that they're not properly staffed. Planning. Where is the planning? So are we going to open ourselves up to litigation by providing an out for one developer? I don't think we should, because we're going to open ourselves up to that kind of litigation. And quite frankly, our litigation department is hurting.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 3001.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith.
And just one quick comment. I don't know if the intent of the speaker was to imply favorability to one bill. I think it was a vesting provision entirely. I'm getting a head nod. So I don't want that to be what's on record as saying Pulte, and we've never had a discussion. No. I was talking to behind it, Lance. Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted that for the record, Okay. Sorry.
So motion to adopt ordinance number 3001.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
I moved already.
Okay, I'm sorry. Commissioner Smith, and second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3002.
Ordinance number 3002, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the future land use element of the Apopka Comprehensive Plan of the City of Apopka, changing the future land use designation from future land use in progress to agriculture for certain real property generally located on west of Martin Road and south of Keene Road, owned by Catherine Rose Rudnick, comprising 10.67 acres more or less, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This is a request to accept ordinance 3002, amending the future land use designation for 2604 Martin Road from future land use in progress to agriculture. The property is located south of Keene Road and west of Martin Road, approximately 10.3 acres in size. The area shows single-family uses on the north and agriculture use on the east. The proposed future land use of agriculture is consistent with the eastern properties in the vicinity with the same designation. The applicant's desire is to maintain the existing rural uses that includes one existing single-family dwelling on the property, as well as agricultural use. This application is also being processed simultaneously with an application to rezone the property to agriculture zoning district included in the next agenda item. The DRC recommends approval at its meeting on April 11, 2023. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the future land use amendment. The recommended motion is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 3002 and hold it over for second reading and adoption on May 17, 2023, or soon thereafter. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Any questions for Jean? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Come on down.
So this is 3002, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the density intensity, one dwelling unit per acre maximum. But so there will be another vote later on what the final plan is? How does that work? Because if it's, I guess I don't understand the metrics here or the data. Okay, one dwelling unit per acre maximum. So it could be, what, 5 units per acre in the end?
It's one dwelling unit per 5 acres.
Yeah, one.
It's one dwelling unit per 5 acres for agriculture.
Okay, I didn't see that there, but okay. All right, good enough. My concern always is the same. It's density. What's the density look like? That's it.
Okay. Anybody else from the public wish to speak? If not, look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3002 at first reading and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
I have one question.
Okay, sure.
And I apologize, I just saw this. This property is on Martin Road, correct?
Yes.
Okay, where the land analysis is, it says that the subject property is in the southern portion of the joint planning area in the Rock Springs Ridge subdivision.
Sorry about
It's
that.
located to the south.
We'll correct that as well on our analysis.
Where is that at?
Where it says land use report?
Yeah, where in that?
Yeah, section 2.
Thank you.
First sentence.
All right, I apologize, I didn't catch that before.
All right, everybody good? Okay.
So moved.
It's interesting
motion?
that that's in there.
Yeah. Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor to approve ordinance number 3002? Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Ordinance 3003.
Ordinance number 3003, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from T transitional to AG agricultural for certain real property generally located west of Martin Road and south of Keene Road, owned by Catherine Rose Rudnick, comprising 10.67 acres more or less, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This is a request to accept the first reading of ordinance number 3003, changing the zoning from T transitional to AG, agriculture for 2604 Martin Road. This is the companion application to the previous agenda item. The AG agricultural zoning district is compatible with the proposed future land use designation of agriculture and with the residential and existing agriculture uses on the east. Sorry about that. The application is consistent with the applicant's intent to maintain the rural lifestyle. The DRC recommends approval at its meeting on April 11, 2023. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the proposed change of zoning. The recommended motion is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 3003 and hold it over for second reading and adoption on May 17, 2023. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Okay, any questions for Jean? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to approve ordinance number 3003 at first reading and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3004.
Ordinance number 3004. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the future land use element of the Apopka Comprehensive Plan of the City of Apopka, changing the future land use designation from residential, very low, suburban, to mixed use for certain real property generally located east of Plymouth Sorrento Road and north of Sand Oak Loop, owned by Kager Family Trust, comprising 5.56 acres more or less, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This is a request to accept the first reading of ordinance number 3004, amending the future land use designation for Plymouth Sorrento Road residential from residential very low suburban to mixed use. The property is located at 4225 Plymouth Sorrento Road, east of Plymouth Sorrento and north of Sand Oak Loop, also within the Kelly Park Interchange Form-Based Code area. It's approximately 5.6 acres in size. The existing future land use designation is residential very low suburban, permitting a maximum of 2 dwelling units per acre. The proposed mixed-use designation would permit a minimum of 1 dwelling unit per acre and maximum of 5 dwelling units per acre, which is consistent with the Kelly Park Interchange Form-Based Code area standards. The DRC recommends approval at its meeting on April 11, 2023. Planning Commission, on a vote of 2-2, did not reach a majority vote to issue a recommendation for the proposed change in future land use. The recommended motion is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 3004 and hold it over for second reading and adoption. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Jean, can you give us the background on the two votes?
It's my understanding that majority wasn't reached based on a discussion regarding density or I think that Planning Commission had concerns regarding the consistency of density in that area with the already existing subdivision on there. I think that's Oak Ridge. And I would like to say that west of this property, we have, or this council has approved at least 3 residential subdivisions that are within the Kelly Park Interchange Form-Based Code. Most of them have mix of single-family uses sizes from 55 on up, and some of them are bungalows that have single-family lot sizes of, I think, 20 to 30 foot lot width.
Also, for the record, just to clarify that 2 of the commissioners had concerns that the applicant actually did not go out and actively get the consent or the opinions of the neighboring parcels, even though the applicant did meet all of the notice requirements under the code, that they did not go and then get their opinion or that there was any open comment or opinion on the part of the neighbors, whether they be for or against this land use amendment. That was one of the other contentious issues that was at issue with the commissioners.
So it's listed as being part of the KPI, the Kelly Park form-based code, or the Kelly Park interchange form-based code. Is it, what part of, what mixed-use classification would it have? Would it have neighborhood overlay?
Neighborhood, yes.
Okay, so the overlay that is intended to have, in theory,
The least,
the least amount of density.
correct, exactly.
Now, I would argue, and again, this being a legislative piece of business, we have a little bit more latitude. On the western boundary of Plymouth Sorrento, all of that is being developed with the concept of interconnectivity up to the village center overlay portion of the KPI.
Correct, that's exactly right. That connectivity began with the Publix up
Right.
there on the north. Yep.
Which is not the luxury on the eastern side of this network.
No,
My-
we haven't had any formal submittals on the eastern as much as we have in the western side of the KPI.
Right. So boundary-wise, I convince me, give me some compelling evidence as to why we should change the density with all of the kind of abutting properties being kind of larger lot.
Well, it's my understanding that the applicant intends to build custom homes here that are traditionally larger lots, but I'll defer to them in terms of advocating for their own application.
Hello, Alex Getz, KPM Franklin, 6300 Hazeltine National Drive, civil engineer representing the Kager family.
Can you raise the mic a little bit up?
Oh.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
you can raise actually
Okay.
raise it.
Fancy.
Thank you very much.
So the Kager family, longtime residents of the city. Andrew Kager is our most direct relationship with the family, and he's a home builder. They are looking to build larger lots than would be required. It's a 2 to 5 acre dwelling unit request. However, we are proposing slightly over 2 units per acre with 65-foot lots. So it would be larger than the 20 to 35 in the surrounding neighborhoods. And there were multiple concerns brought up during planning staff about proper notification to the neighbors. All the proper notification steps were taken to the neighbors. No one from our immediate vicinity came out to object to this. I also have, I'd like to introduce Andrew Kager, who personally spoke to a lot of the neighbors in the area and has some more input on that, but I'm also available for more clarification if needed.
Hey there, Commissioners. I'm Andrew Kager. We're at 4456 Plymouth Sorrento Road, right down the street from this property. I did go out and speak with some of the neighbors. They basically didn't send an input or any kind of objection because they weren't really, it wasn't a big concern. We've been planning this smaller subdivision for the last 2 years. I've been very vocal with the neighbors, what we're planning on doing, showing them the houses. They all are sort of excited about. We're not going to build plump houses. We're going to be building different styles. We actually have some examples of it. Like Alex was saying, we're not squeezing every piece of property we can to squeeze out. We're local. We've been here 50 years. My parents actually own the property, and we're building 16 custom style houses. That's going to be super nice to the area.
Yeah, and to that end, I mean, obviously the staff report talks about the 16 versus what's currently permissible of the 11. So it's a net 5 add is what you're asking for.
That's all we're asking for. We're not trying to squeeze every cent, every piece of inch out of that property. We could put more on there. I think we could actually do 22, but
Now,
we don't want to.
The 2 dwelling units per acre and the discussion of 65-foot widths, is that because you're reserving open space or green space
Yes.
in a more concentrated
Yeah, that's
manner?
we have over 20% open green space, playground areas. So that's why, the lots are 65 feet wide and 130 feet deep.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so this is currently vacant, correct?
Yes, sir.
So there's some trees there's some trees just kind of scattered throughout.
Yes.
Is there any way that we can, and we've had other developers do this too, that we can keep some of those mature
We-
trees there?
Yes, we are definitely going to try to, limit the number of trees that we're taking out. We're putting the road on the, left side. I'm not sure.
It's on the north side, yeah.
Yeah, the north side and the trees on the back side, we're gonna try to minimize what we have to, because they shouldn't be interfering at all with the houses. They're on the back side of the property. There's gonna be probably, with the setbacks that the city gave us, there should be about 40 to 50 feet between the house and the back property line, which those trees are pretty much within the first 20, 25 feet of the back property.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would add a lot of value and definitely help to block, just
Yeah.
let the neighboring properties enjoy their property still, since they are
Right.
rather
And then-
large parcels.
And then the back corner that butts up against the phase one of
Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge, that back area actually is going to be the green space, and a lot of those trees should be left alone also.
Is there a way, and this is more for staff question, and it is the development that's to the west of Wolf Lake Middle and Elementary School. They on their plan had trees that were specifically they were keeping. Are we able to add that as a requirement on their plans?
It's already a requirement. We have a retention canopy requirement. So whatever
Can
existing
you point me to that
canopy-
somewhere in our packet?
It's actually in our land development code. I could give you the section.
Of the trees that they're keeping? Not adding.
No. So for the future land use, there was no plan yet because the zoning gives you actually the master plan, which is conceptual. So we address retention of canopies at the major development plan review and construction site plan.
That's when that would come into play.
Correct.
Okay, understand. Yeah, again, it's just real important to do that. I think there's just a huge value there. So as long as we can see that somewhere on a plan, that those will be saved in some capacity, and specifically which ones, I think that'll be a huge value add. I think it was very smart to put the retention area, the pond, on the east side that backs up to Oak Ridge. It gives, again, the correct buffers that I think are good. The only other concern, and it's not unique to your site, and again, this is a staff question, is just kind of creating small enclaves, just turn after turn after turn. Safety issues with that, turning in and out. We're dealing with that on Kelly Park as well. So
Yeah, we've had these issues with the way some of the lots out there in the KPI area are shaped, so.
how do we get around this?
Right. Sure.
So one of I think the only DRC comments that we had regarding access and transportation was to dedicate right-of-way strip on the eastern part of our property, so that if those properties north and south of us do decide to develop, they would be able to interconnect with us. So that it was a priority of staff. And then as far as the trees are concerned, we did put stormwater tracks at both of the low sides of our property to do what we can to minimize the mass grading on this site. This site is very favorable terrain as far as how it's situated. So we do anticipate the ability to keep the terrain at pretty close to the natural grade. So those are the two things.
Thank you.
Let me just add to that. We talk to Orange County weekly, sometimes daily, about Plymouth Sorrento Road, and we're getting there. They said it's not quite ready, but when a project like this comes in, we sit down and have a meeting about access, and they've been very strict. You saw what they made Publix do. I don't know if they're going to impose some kind of restrictive access that requires a barrier right in, right out, left in. But I understand what you're saying. It's one of those areas that once the road gets widened to 4 lanes, which it will, and we're trying to convince them to do that sooner as opposed to later. And at that point, a full access management plan for Plymouth Sorrento Road will be put in place. They may end up with right in, right out, having to make U-turns. They may end up with some kind of modified access.
Okay.
But for now, I'm comfortable giving them full access, but it will be subject to Orange County's will.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public
You
hearing.
got one.
We got one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up, Mr. Huff.
Ms. Richmond mentioned the widening of a road, 4-lane. Did I hear that correctly? Yes. Which road is that? Okay, so Plymouth Sorrento Road will eventually become a 4-lane road. Okay, my comment, and remember it, stick it away. In Florida, you widen the roads, you build roads, the traffic will come. Yes, it will. So keep it in mind. That nice bucolic area out through there, that's going to be gone, folks. It's going to be gone. So keep it in mind. And that's what we're really discussing here. So if that's the future you would like for Florida, go for it.
Well, to add to that too, I think it's important that we do maintain, there's certain properties that are protection areas right now that are in that same area that I think are very important in protecting. So luckily this is not one of those, but I do agree that we need to protect those properties that we can.
Okay. Anybody else? No, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3004 at first reading and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3005.
Ordinance number 3005. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from T transitional to KPIMU, Kelly Park Interchange Mixed Use, and an assignment of neighborhood overlay district for certain real property generally located east of Plymouth Sorrento Road and north of Sand Oak Loop, owned by Kager Family Trust, comprising 5.56 acres more or less, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This is a request to accept the first reading of ordinance number 3005, changing the zoning for Plymouth Sorrento Road residential from T transitional to KPIMU, Kelly Park Interchange Mixed Use, and assignment of neighborhood overlay district, as well as its master plan. This is the rezoning companion to the previous agenda item. The master plan depicts 16 single-family residential lots, a tot lot, pocket park, and a amenitized stormwater pond on 5.56 acres of land area. The applicant is also dedicating a 30-foot wide right-of-way along the project's frontage on Plymouth Sorrento Road for future road widening. The proposed access point for this project is on Plymouth Sorrento Road, as you heard Pam state in the previous item. The DRC recommends approval at its meeting on April 11, 2023. Planning Commission, on a vote of 2-2, did not reach a majority vote to issue a recommendation for the proposed change of zoning, as well as the overlay district. The recommended motion is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 3005 and hold it over for second reading and adoption. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Any questions for staff? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3005 at first reading and hold over for second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3012.
Ordinance number 3012. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, to extend its territorial and municipal limits to annex pursuant to Florida Statute 171.044, the hereinafter described land situated and being in Orange County, Florida, owned by Bernadette Hardy Holt, Solomon Earl Holt, Dana L. Hoffman, Carol A. Hoffman, Joyce A. Heck, and Francois P. Brini, located north of Capitol Reef Way, east of Golden Gem Road, and west of State Road 429, comprising of 44.73 acres more or less, providing for directions to the city clerk, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This is a request to accept ordinance number 3012, annexation of Wild Oaks properties. The subject properties are contiguous to the city limits on the north, east, and south boundaries, therefore eligible for annexation pursuant to Florida Statute 171. The total area is 44.7 acres in size. The proposed annexation shall be on the basis of existing county future land use and zoning designations, and assignment of a city future land use and zoning designation will occur at a later date and through action of the city council. The intent of the applicant is to combine the parcels with the previously approved Wild Oaks development, formerly known as the Kelly Park Crossing properties. The DRC recommends approval. The recommended motion is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 3012 and hold it over for second reading and adoption on May 17, 2023, or soon thereafter. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Any questions for Gene on this application?
Is this going to be part of their industrial project?
Not of the industrial project. It will have the neighborhood overlay because that's where it falls. And a
Gotcha.
portion of it on the northwest corner is industrial, yes. Just a small portion of it that they're adding.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Gene? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Come on down.
Just an observation. This property is adjacent to a large part of the development, which is currently owned by Kelly Park VB Developments. Is it the applicant's intention to increase the scope of the work that they already got there and combine this with that? And if we are looking at that, it does again bring up contentions about Golden Gem Road and the access to it.
Good afternoon, Tara Tedrow, Lowndes Law, 215 North Yola Drive, Orlando, Florida, here on behalf of the applicant. To answer the question, yes, so it's going to be the same developer doing a comprehensive development package. After the annexation, we'll come back with a future land use amendment and a rezone. The properties are within the 1 mile radius of the interchange, so are required under your comprehensive plan to be included in the city limits with a mixed-use future land use and the KPIMU zoning designation on it. So we will bring that as part of a revised master plan. That revised master plan will be presented concurrent with the rezoning that will come back before you. And so it will be one comprehensive development under the same developer at that time. And we also have, as you've heard from Pam, in the works, a pioneering agreement with multiple other outside developers in the area, as well as a pending transportation agreement that is specific to our internal project for what we have rebranded the Wild Oaks project, formerly the Kelly Park VB Development Project. And so we will be bringing forth changes that are going to be happening Golden Gem, Kelly Park Road, Effie and Sadler extensions. So all of that's pending. I heard June 7th. Not sure if it'll happen before that, but at some point in the next, hopefully 30 days, we'll have those agreements for your consideration.
Okay, any questions?
To confirm, so when we had approved the Wild Oaks, along Golden Gem, you guys had said we're going to be taking care of that.
Mm-hmm.
So what now with this being added into that project effectively, does this extend down to what you'll take care of?
Correct. It's same sort of right-of-way dedication obligations. Pam has us looking, I don't know if she wants to opine on that as well. But yes, we haven't finished that agreement yet. So, and we also have a revised development agreement that comes along with our revised master plan during the rezoning too.
And this is going to be kind of a joint thing. We're going from Capitol Reef Way, which is about midpoint of Golden Gem, and we're bringing that segment fully up to city standards. So, you know, Orange County, if they have $2.8 million, they'll just resurface and put a sidewalk up, whatever they want to do. It's fine. But their development and the developments in the KPI require us, because that area is in the KPI, we have to bring it up to city standards. And that's our plan.
Okay.
Oh, and I have a scope to get it designed, so we're not waiting around. We're going forward.
Excellent. Good to hear. Thank you.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3012 at first reading and hold over for second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3013. Susan?
Ordinance number 3013, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Apopka by amending Chapter 26, Cemeteries, Section 26-4, Fees, by amending the fees for services, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Oh. Okay. So this is a request to approve the first reading for ordinance number 3013. And so this, back on August 19th of 2020, City Council approved ordinance 2787, amending the fees, which hadn't been done prior to that in 8 years. So the city clerk's office recently performed a review of all the costs associated with the maintenance and support of the city cemetery. And we did a comparison of the local municipalities and found that we were substantially lower. It has led to an increase of number of non-residents coming to our cemetery, trying to, because it's a little more lower in cost. So, and due to the rising cost of the maintenance and personnel costs, since we did just open 3 new sections of our cemetery, it's become necessary to increase our fees to properly maintain the grounds and have staff available to meet with the families, the funeral homes, and also mark the graves for the openings and monuments. So this ordinance seeks to amend Ordinance 2787 and also provide the city availability or the ability to make future adjustments through resolution instead of coming back with amendments to the ordinances. And does anybody have any questions? This is the first reading, so it'll come back before you.
My question on that, and it's what I brought up last time too, if we can, my goal would be for residents, for children's and babyland spaces to be free, and then non-residents to be the updated amount, but it's up to the council, but I think that's a proper thing to do. And I don't think that's a huge, if we're looking at just fiscally, that's not a huge, we're not missing out a lot of funds there. So I think that's a nice thing to offer to our residents.
Well, I disagree in that right now we have a hard time telling somebody that comes in for a funeral that they're not a city resident. So I can assure you that if they get a free burial site, they'll have some in-law that lives in Apopka that will get a free baby site. If you want to discount a little bit more, I'm okay with that, but to give it to them for free, I can assure you that we will have many, many, many free burial plots.
How many, do you know off the top of your head, the amount of children's spaces and babyland spaces that we have? Plus or minus?
We haven't allocated any to the new sections yet, but we have approximately 16 left, so we haven't, we don't have the need like we do a regular space, but.
Sure. So we're talking about $12,000 basically. What would you be open to discounting it to?
What's the number? Don't you have a slide there?
I do. I don't have a slide on that. I have just the proposed updates.
Oh, yeah, that's
perfect.
Yeah.
Baby land is 300, 500. You want to go 200? I mean, is that?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying leave
So
it as
keep it the
is?
same.
Yeah, same. And then if you want to leave the non-resident, stay at the 500. Is it 500 or 550?
500.
Oh, 500, yeah.
What are
200,
the age, what's the age brackets for that?
So the Babyland spaces are generally infants.
What,
And then the children would be anywhere from, a toddler, adolescent to up to a, and probably a teenager. It depends on
the
the
size?
size, yeah.
Ugh, this sucks to talk about. All right. So yeah, I think we can still do something. I just think it's a nice, when you're going through something like that, you know, every little dime helps, especially families that are going through things. So, I mean, for residents, can we split it in half to where we do kind of 150 for children's and Babyland, and then do the non-resident, keep it with the proposed updated price?
You're saying making the children's space 150 as well?
Correct. It's still bringing in the income. And we're talking about 16 spaces. And again, we're talking about people's kids too. So it's.
No, we talking about, this is gonna be from now on,
Yeah,
even in the
that's
new
right.
cemetery.
I understand.
But it's not 16 spaces.
Well, it's for right now it is. And again, I'm hoping we're not having a mass amount of children passing away. So if children are passing away, it's because either a bad accident, they had some type of health issue, and I would assume that families are already going through a hard time paying for that. So to offer a small discount on this,
I'm fine with a small discount, not a big discount.
$150 isn't it's not.
Well, I'm in agreement with the baby space. I have no problem with that.
Okay, so can we do 150 on baby space then?
Okay.
And then, so what can we do on children's? Would you do 200 on children's then? And again, keeping the non-resident at the proposed, but I understand what you're saying too, is that people are gonna find workarounds to.
Yes.
I understand that.
Yeah, I would just more clearly define age around child max, if we could do that, and then
We'll
just.
bring that back as the second reading. You want to bring that back?
Yeah, I think that would just help to define
Okay.
everything and make sure that we.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that makes sense.
I think it's just technically important to note that all the ordinance is doing is removing the fees from the current code and stating that the council adopted by resolution. So the actual debate on the amounts of the fees will
come
be
at the
appropriate for
resolution.
the resolution, which is going to come after the second reading of this ordinance.
Well, then we didn't
Now,
need
if we
to
have the
see these in the first
direction-
place now. Then.
Well, I mean,
But I'd rather get it done now. Let's make sure so we're just smooth sailing on the way forward. I think it makes sense to only do it now.
And I would caution you about the age for the children, because as we said, we're talking about the size of the space. And there are some kids at age 12 that could use an adult space.
That's true.
So can we put limitations or something like that on there, or what?
I can get some
yeah, we'll bring that back at
descriptions
the
and bring that
second
back to you guys.
Okay.
second reading on the ordinance.
A little bit more information.
All right. Everyone, please think about that more, about those, and then we'll get some definition on what those spaces mean age-wise and all that, and
Yeah, I mean, because
size-wise.
when you look at, obviously, we've got the cemetery fee comparison in the deck. So you look at someplace like Winter Park, right? They've got an NA for baby lane space, so I'm assuming that's no charge, and then 150 for children's space, but it's
No,
being
they
No,
don't.
they don't have it.
available.
They don't have it.
They don't have it available.
designated.
NA means they don't have
No,
that
but,
available.
But I would assume that it would be $150 or less, because
Oh,
they do have
right.
$150 for the children's space. So it's being subsidized by a much higher amount for an adult space. So I think staff has heard what Commissioner Nessa has said in terms of not to put words in your mouth, but it's making sure that, grieving parents, a lot of us can relate to that, are not going through that process. But at the same time, we still have to keep the cemetery in good working order.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I think there's a balance there. I think we're getting close to it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
We'll look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3013 at first reading and hold over for second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta.
For the mechanics
So
of it, correct?
Mechanics, yes.
we're approving it without the fee?
Correct. That'll
Okay.
come under the resolution.
The resolution will be the fee, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, did you get a
Got a
second?
motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, Resolution 2023-12.
Resolution 2023-12, a resolution of the City of Apopka, Florida, updating compliance with Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, adopting a handicapped accessibility self-evaluation plan, adopting a transition plan for handicapped accessibility, and adopting Section 504 grievance procedure.
Radley Williams, Parks and Recreation Director. Good evening, or good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here today with an update in the facilities maintenance world. We're here today to do an update to our 504 plan, which is directly related to our compliance with our Community Development Block Grant Program, which we do have some grants out currently. This is a federal requirement to ensure that we're continually looking at ADA accessibility in our city facilities. So we've put together an update of some of those ADA tasks that are required through a self-assessment. On this chart, we have the current year we're in and looking out to the next year. This does run on a fiscal year budget process, and a lot of the tasks in the year one chart here are currently underway. So again, this is a program that's been in place. It is just requiring an update through resolution by the council to continue our compliance. I can take any questions.
Any questions for Bradley?
So what's the time frame in order to retrofit all of these?
So these are broken out in the current year, which is year one, and year two would be next fiscal year. This does need to be updated on a routine basis, so we will be coming back to you with continual updates as we continue our self-assessment, as new facilities are brought online and facilities continue to grow and change.
Any other questions for Radley? Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to approve ordinance number 3013 at first reading and hold over for second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Becker,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next up, city council reports.
Can I just take a few minute break? I have to go to.
Sure.
Thanks.
Call the meeting back to order. Commissioner Nesta, City Commission reports.
Let me see here. And let's just address it, I guess, up front. The Southwood Commons, are they coming back? Can you refresh my memory on that? I know obviously they just spoke during public comment. What's the update on that? And explain why it's coming to us then too.
I gotta drop this down a little bit so I can actually see over the partition. I had a conversation with the owner just last week, and we kind of outlined the information regarding the Southwood Commons and the review process. Just wanted to assure you, this has not been delayed by staff. There was a delay when the original suit went on, and we kept processing and doing the reviews and sending the comments, and they did not answer those comments, and they didn't send back any other new set of plans or anything like that. So that has not been delayed. There were about 4 items that were discussed in regards to the plans themselves. A couple things were mentioned at one of the DRC meetings. They were not actual written comments, but they were voiced regarding sidewalks, the location of the emergency access off of Alabama, and then also the size of the fire truck was not the proper size. They used, I believe it was a 47-foot instead of a 52-inch or 52-foot fire truck to make sure they don't jump curbs and hit cars as they're maneuvering inside the development itself. So, and then there was the other item that came up was the list of luxury items. This was discussed at a meeting in, I believe it was December, that they would simply put that list, which is actually basically the same type of items that were on one of their other developments up in Longwood. And I did get that listing from Rebecca Wilson, their attorney, and she simply wanted us to approve the plans with that condition, that those be added on. When we had the meeting, they were going to put them on the plans themselves, and that did not get done. And I want those on the plans because those conditions and those extra pieces of paper, they get lost. So I wanted those on the plans so that there was no, if somebody had a set of approved plans, they're on there, they're done, it's done. So they said, yes, they can do that. And that was Jonathan Wolf, who's the owner, said, yes, they can put all those things on there. So I went over the plan, the guidelines of the timing. I'll get to the balconies too. With him, and basically said that if he can get the plans to us Tuesday or Wednesday this week, we'd put it on DRC next week and get the major development plan approved, basically through DRC, other than the balcony issue, which this is one of those issues that when I look at a balcony, and that's part of the development agreement, is having a balcony. I believe that a balcony should be an outside type amenity, that you can go outside your air-conditioned living quarters and actually stand on a balcony. And what they had provided was what's called a Juliet balcony. It's a type of a balcony. It is, if you've got anything larger than a size 11 shoe, you cannot stand on your balcony. You cannot sit on your balcony. If you went out for coffee in the morning, you could not have coffee on your balcony. And so that's where I looked at what we don't actually have a definition of a balcony in our code. There's a lot of definitions we don't have in our code. There's a lot of definitions that any city does not have every single type of definition in their code. But if you look up Merriam-Webster, the dictionary, it's basically a 4-foot by 9-foot area. I don't want a 9-foot balcony. I just want like a 4-by-5 area that you can actually go out on your balcony. A lot of the effect is the two multifamily developments that were presented tonight up at Kelly Park. If you look at the aerial or the rendering that's there, they all have balconies. So there's a disagreement there. Again, staff looks at this and we because the DA said balcony, I'm looking at a balcony, a usable outside space, not a type of a balcony, but an outside space that is a balcony. If you look at through our code, there's not Juliet balconies in any picture in our land development code. It's a balcony. It's an open space area, whether it's screened in like at Alta East Shore, or if it's a open balcony to the sky or within the building itself. They had actually proposed back when they first bought the property, doing the development agreement, they had actually proposed, I believe it was 38 or 39 balconies as part of the project, but they didn't come back with that either. So, I believe they can do it, but they're.
But I guess because similar to the, can't think of, it's not Wing House. One of the projects we approved in the city center, Miller's Ale House. Why is it coming to us, I guess?
That's a good question. As we discussed when Miller Ale House was there, it's a consideration that staff wanted you all to make sure that you are informed with what's going on. That way, when you get those questions, is Miller Ale House really coming? You can say, yes, we saw it. It is coming. The balcony issue, unlike the turn lane requirement, where the turn lane is actually something that you would vote on to either keep or not have. And that was one that did come to you. That was a delay, and that was not on our part. We wanted the turn lane. It's in our code. The balcony is not something that should be coming to you. It's a staff prerogative in terms of what we look at that, and in terms of what our vision is for a balcony. In discussing this with Mr. Wolf, I said we can bring it to City Council and we'll let you all decide whether or not you want to support staff with that definition of what we look at as a balcony or a usable space. And so I offered that up as an option so that you're informed, because I think some of you might have met with them, and I want to make sure that if they're meeting with you, they're basically trying to inform you of what's going on with the development. And I thought, well, they already met with you once. Let's meet it at a public forum versus one-on-one.
Okay. And then so they don't have to go to like planning or anything like that, right? It's just DRC and then to us. So it doesn't have to go to planning commission.
Yes, sir. Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. So can we squeeze this in on the second meeting of May just to get it done and over with, finalized in some capacity? Because they're saying that it's causing them delays, whether or not it's.
Yeah, they have not submitted for their construction site permit, or site plan. Typically, you get the MDP approved first, and then you go for your construction site plan. We can do that concurrent. They don't have that much more that is at issue right now. And
technically, it doesn't have to wait for a meeting. I mean, again, it's not an official piece of business. We could provide a unanimous or a majority vote right now and give you a clear direction about what we think the definition of a balcony is.
Yeah, so I think that's my question too, is like, so what if you still disagree with us? Do you still have the power to say you guys are wrong and I'm going to do it?
I think when we updated the 2016 agreement, now, obviously I wasn't here when that was put into place, but I think when we updated it, I think I asked, because this was basically the mayor's prerogative to do whatever he thought was reasonable to bypass. I mean, obviously we work with staff, so I said, no, that's not how I see it. I think we need to have city council approval for any major development. So I guess we'd have to go back and look at the that commission meeting and how it was structured. But I'm pretty sure that I want to make sure that you did have a say in, we as a collective body had a say in how the developers agreement.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no definition as to what a balcony is in reference to size, is this a battle that we're going to be able to win?
No. Well,
I mean,
listen to the words used when he opened up, though. I mean, it's a type of balcony. He said it's a type of balcony.
Right.
And yet we don't have it defined within our land development code
Correct.
in terms of the specifications. That, I mean, I'm no attorney, but
Well,
that's
that's why
not going to hold up in court.
Right. That's why my question was, I mean, if this is not a battle we're going to win, let's not.
Procedurally, the reason why it's got to come back is it's being treated as an amendment to the development agreement, in which they're seeking to amend the language of the development agreement to now codify or clarify what type of balconies are permitted within this development.
I've
That's what's being
I've
sought.
not heard that from the applicant. The applicant is of full confidence that they've submitted plans with balconies on every unit. The pushback from staff is the preference of the size of balcony, as Mr. Hitt just described. That's the conundrum that we're in right now. But again, to Commissioner Smith's point, if we cannot go through the land development code anywhere in there and it gives a clear specification about how big a balcony has to be, again, going back to the dictionary definition of this thing, as long as that balcony overhangs the wall, whether it be a millimeter, 11 inches, or 9 feet, again, I don't have to have a law degree to know that that's not gonna, we're not gonna win that battle.
The definition I looked up is simply say up to 100 square feet. That's all it said. It says up to.
That would be the easiest route, I agree, to be able to do that.
I still think that we as city council need to decide what those luxury amenities are. I mean, I've asked the team just to let the whole package of luxury amenities come forward to city council, and we decide what that entails. But
The part in the exhibit under item 9, when it talks about those things, and I'll just read it verbatim, all residential apartments or townhomes shall be developed as luxury or upscale rental or condominium dwellings and shall include the following features: ability to access wireless high-speed internet access in the units, balcony or porch, walk-in showers, energy-efficient appliances, full-size washer and dryer machines, and walk-in closets. And the complex shall include bicycle parking per city code. No laundry center allowed, enclosed garage or covered parking spaces are encouraged. And that's it. So again, this is what's on the books.
Yeah, they actually,
And again, I've been very transparent with this applicant. I told them, hey, if I was on this dais a year ago when this council voted the way they did, I would have voted in the majority of denial. However, we lost that battle in court. They are able to develop this. The luxury items, as I just read, like it or not, definitionally they align to them. And again, I don't want to lose a court battle again. And if I can, just because it's relevant to the conversation, again, the mayor sent a letter to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation Board of Directors on a City of Apopka letterhead that has all of our names at the bottom of this letterhead, which a layperson would relate optically when it starts off, the City of Apopka objects to the affordable housing project at 175 southeast of the intersection of East 6th, assumes that, hey, the City of Apopka is all in favor of this representation, which some of the wording in here says we continue to be harassed by Wendover. I would love to know how they're harassing us. They either failed to read the document or worse, figured they could intimidate the city into caving on the luxury amenities. How are they intimidating us? I'm speaking theoretical, not to you, Mr. Hitt. And then the last sentence of that paragraph, Wendover could flip the property to one of the several luxury apartment builders eager to build on this site and pocket more than $1 million profit. So we're speculating on what this could be rather than their ownership, rightful ownership on the property today. And again, this is a 180 for me because, again, I was never of the mindset that a property like this should anchor a center of commerce for our city. However, in their consent agenda item that the mayor was trying to get pulled out of consent and struck, the petitioner states that the number of units dedicated in the application was based on a review of the City of Apopka land development regulation and preliminary discussions with planning staff. These initial discussions culminated with the City of Apopka, the city, providing petitioner the Florida Housing Financing Corporation local government verification form that the development is consistent with zoning and land use regulations, i.e. the verification, on November 4th, 2020, confirming 195 units on the development site. So again, they've got documentation of the initial application that was signed even to the 195, and this application was to reduce it to 192. So for us to fight about whether or not, as the mayor put it, the City of Apopka objects to the affordable housing project at 175 Southeast, that ship has sailed. The courts have already decided that this is going to happen.
No, I have to interrupt you there.
I'm speaking to Mr. Hitt.
Well, but you're giving a legal falsity. The courts have not determined that it is entitled to be developed there. The court simply struck the language that it cannot be restricted to market rate or non-subsidized. They did not rule on the matter that they have entitlement to proceed forward to construction, because the court specifically did not amend their second request to amend the other attachment. So to state that the court has stated that they have the right to build is incorrect.
They have the right to build.
No, no.
I am not speaking to you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Well, but I'm giving you a legal opinion because you are giving a legal falsity.
Based off of 2 meetings ago. I do not value your opinion.
I don't care if you value my opinion, but you must respect and honor the law and the holding of the court.
Can we just stay on task? It's also my council report. So let's stay.
The point being, legalese aside, the court has ruled that if they cannot be told they cannot develop simply because it's a subsidized project. The hangup that's currently in front of us, or in front of staff, is whether or not the balconies meet the definition of luxury. Because assuming that everything else within item number 9 within the exhibit that I just read, they've committed to, that is the single point of contention at this point.
Correct.
Right, that's it.
Nobody's arguing that.
Yeah, they did give a very good detailed list based on one of their other projects that I mentioned is up in Longwood. And they included all the items that we've got in our DA and then also, or in the DA, not just our DA. And then, like I mentioned, the main issue is the balcony issue right now.
And so, if again, we replay the tape from the Miller's Air House conversation, the reason why it was told to this council why this was up there, even though we didn't have to vote on it per Commissioner Velasquez's observation, was, and I'm paraphrasing from my recollection, but you said it's to get clarification that, in codes or things like that, if the council has a different interpretation. So again, I would say that the single point of interpretation, whether you're seeking that now, if we have the authority to give it to you now, is what a balcony is in the city of Apopka. I think that's what we're trying to get to. However, from where I sit, and I'll yield back, I'm sorry, I'm commandeering.
Sure, just domineer it all.
But what now
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well,
yeah,
I think
we could sit here and argue the fact, but we have to think about what's going to be defensible and held up in court. At the end of the day, if we're trying to slow play this, I don't know what the intention is of people. Again, I have to take straight from the horse's mouth of what the intent of the mayor was, is to pull his project. We're going to get sued through the teeth if Wendover loses all the funding that they've been promised on this development, and they're not going to proceed based off of a determination of balcony definition. So anyway, I'll yield back.
no, and I think again, I think I'm still. It doesn't need to come to us, and if not, then do you just need a general understanding of what our expectations are of balconies, and then move forward from there? So whether it needs to be on an agenda item at the next meeting, let's do it, let's get it done, and let's keep moving, or we can do it tonight or today. So either way, I just want to finalize that in some capacity. So if we can put it on next agenda, I think that's easy to do. I don't think it's necessary, but we can do that if you want to follow certain procedures to get it there.
Well, they aren't here to
I think we need to bring it back next council meeting, because I want to go back to the council meeting where we did the adjustments to the 2016 agreement, because I think it was in there that we put some caveats that anything that we or the mayor could not approve unilaterally in a development, that it had to come to city council. So I want to make sure that we're on the right page. So if we'll bring it back to city council.
Yeah, let's do that next meeting then, and just get that finalized.
Okay.
The other one on that, obviously, and Commissioner Becker touched on it, is just, I didn't pen any letter to Tallahassee, so please don't put my name. I'm sure you don't want your name on anything that I pen. So please, let's have mutual respect there and not write anything with my name on that. Or reach out and let me know if you are writing that. The next one is, I spoke to staff a little bit on this one, a policy for selling city-owned land. It's come up a couple times, and the Wendover is a perfect example of where we're selling properties to developers or individuals, and then those individuals are almost immediately flipping it for a healthy profit. So either we're not doing enough due diligence, or we're selling it low, or something underhand is happening there. And another example is Sandpiper and Park Avenue. They closed on that in February of 2022 from us, listed it in May of 2022. No developments going on there, so I would have rather have just kept it until a developer is actually ready to develop it. Otherwise, we're just handing out free land, not free, but discounted land to everybody, and they're making a profit off the people's land. So there needs to be some type of policy, and I'd like just some general approval to kind of move forward with some type of policy to move forward on that, of just creating a policy of how we sell city-owned land, because we don't have anything in place right now for that. So I'd like to do something along those lines, because again,
I did speak to Jim about that probably about a year ago, because we drive past that piece of property. And I had said to him, in the future, if we surplus any city property, we have to make a contract where we give them a time limit in which to develop it, or we get it back.
there needs to be some type of provision. I just think that it's not to the benefit of the city what
Because
we were
all they
doing
did-
so far.
I know it's been sitting there.
Over a year now. And
Is it?
again,
No, I
they
think
immediately
longer.
put it back on the market, which is it's not their fault. So we're allowing this to happen. So the next one is, I guess, going over, and are you going to be, Commissioner Becker, are you going to be talking about attorney selection?
Yeah.
Okay, I will wait.
Unless you have.
No, I'll wait for yours and I'll jump in on that one. I'm done. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. First of all, I want to say that several of us attended a event that was put on by the Chamber, Gather and Grow, a roundtable that emphasized the immigrants' workforce here in our community in the area of agribusiness, construction, hospitality, healthcare, and education. And I think it was a eye-opening workshop that brought to light a lot of things and the contributions that the immigrants and the undocumented residents bring to our city. And so something that we need to support and embrace because they are taxpayers and they are making a significant contribution to our workforce here in the city of Apopka. The other thing is that on the May 20th, we're having an Emancipation Day celebration once again. We'll be doing the proclamation here on the steps at noon, and then we'll have a program at the Billy Dean Alonzo Williams Park that afternoon from 1 to 6 p.m., and you're all invited. That's it.
Commissioner Becker?
Yeah, so only the media piece at the end. The financial audit and CAFR presentation, when is that going to be? Sorry.
Next commission meeting, we pushed it off.
No, the audit results and CAFR presentation.
Yeah, we're still in the midst of the audit right now, so I'm hoping to get it like early June,
Early June. Okay.
as much as possible. We're
Yeah,
working.
and knowing that we're kind of in the midst of, budget considerations have already kicked off and things like that. What's the best way for this body to funnel our own budget priorities so that we're not getting into July and everybody's just kind of a ta-da from a commissioner perspective?
You can send them to me.
You want to just everything corral through you and then, okay. Then I think Mr. Williams, is he still here? Oh, there he is. And you can state it if it's just a binary kind of yes, no. The Bay Ridge Cemetery, you sent me a note back on it. You said you're going to have some indication of what that might look like. Is it the next council meeting?
I mean, I
Or
can
this-
give you a brief update right now.
Oh, okay.
Our park superintendent pulled some initial numbers together on what was discussed at the last meeting. Initial cleanup would be around $5,000. Annual maintenance cost with our contractor to be $4,300. And then there would be some capital requirements if we're going to look to fence the cemetery in. And there's a variety. If we're going wrought iron, like we have at the current cemetery, it's a big ticket. It's about $100,000 price tag. Chain link would be about 42,000, and a PVC split rail would be around $32,000. So
And how much did you say the wrought iron would be?
around $100,000. So that would be we just fenced in the new portion of the cemetery. It's about half the size, or it's about 2 times the size of what we did. That was around $52,000. The property is 2.5 acres listed on the property appraiser.
And you said the chain link would be how much?
Around 42,000. And we would look to have, if this were to go forward, that annual maintenance would be done by our contractor.
Got it. So, and then you said that annual run rate would be about 4,300?
4,300 is currently what we have based off our contract.
So, and I don't know what the will of the council is. I mean, obviously, the larger capital expense in terms of perimeter fencing and stuff like that, would it be, that would have to be done at the time that all the kind of getting up to code and all that sort of stuff happened first? Or could we say, hey, let's do the 5K and then account for the 4,300 and the rest of our remaining budget, and then we tackle the capital expense and budget period for the fence type? I mean, because logically, you're going to have some runway to even contact the landowner, go through the annexation process, ownership, turnover, if that's the will there.
Right. There would be some process to that. I think the determination would be, if we clean it up, do we want to, I mean, it's a fence. The fence isn't completely secure, but do you want to secure and identify the property lines at the time of taking over that property? I would recommend doing it all at once. If you're going to do it, if you'd like us to take this on, I would recommend doing in one shot, get it all done to make the impact that I believe you're trying to do.
Can we at least give direction to staff to even like start the official conversation with the landowner to see if, I mean, again, based off of my conversations with her, she was very amenable to the idea of annexing it over to the city and even ownership from an OpEx and.
And that was going to be my question, so she's effectively gifting us, but
that would be.
It comes with some liabilities.
Gifting us a liability.
Yeah.
Is what she's gifting us.
And what's the,
It's a liability in the sense of on a balance sheet.
Fiscally, yeah.
From an operating perspective, but again, there's a lot of assets on that property too.
Absolutely.
So
I was going to say, can you give me a little bit of history just on that site?
I mean, the people buried on that site go back many generations here in the city of, again, Bay Ridge was one of, like McCormick or McDonald,
Okay.
Some of these areas within historic Apopka. So the people of Bay Ridge, that community, are there. And like I said in the last meeting, I ran into some folks that have relatives that are resting there as well. So again, it ties into our history.
Is the cemetery closed, or they no longer burying their family
No, I
there?
think there has been a burial probably within the last maybe 5 years. I want to say that there has been. I've called Loomis to see if they have a formal like plot map, which they don't. I think they just do it case by case.
So I would caution, recommending from staff, if the city were to try and take this cemetery over, because of the nature and the unknowns, I did not factor any cost into what you would have to do to properly survey and ground radar that.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be, it would be maintained as a historical site.
So don't utilize it
And don't do any additional burials into it, just because unknown state of the cemetery. And it does open up additional liability.
If we do
in that
designate it as
respect.
like historical, can we get funds for that in some capacity?
We'd have to look, we could look through.
Yeah, see if
potential
there's something
grants,
there
but
for
I'm-
that. Designated as like a historical site in some capacity and.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to solve it today. I mean, I think here is just generally speaking, would the staff, should we have the staff enter into formal conversations with the current property owner? Because there's one of two outcomes. Either we can do it or Orange County can do it. But again, I think the tie into this community is greater.
Yeah, I think it can't hurt to explore. Let's see what the real numbers look like and all that. And I mean, it can't hurt to start the process there, I think. But it's what everyone else wants to.
So can you send that email that you sent to Commissioner?
I can send an
Becker?
update with the numbers. And
Right.
again, these are just rough estimates off of our initial look.
Yeah, if you can send it.
With direction now, we can narrow those down and refine them for you and get a better look at that.
Okay.
And this is with no additional barriers, right?
I would recommend, and I believe our city clerk would recommend, this would be maintained as a historical site. We would not do any additional burials in that cemetery.
And then the last piece does relate to the attorney situation. So again, the last meeting, we had a 4-1. It was 4-1 vote to seek interpretation of our charter, right? We've got two options. One of which is, drafting a letter to the Attorney General to seek an opinion from the Attorney General, but that is not binding from a legal perspective. I mean, obviously, an Attorney General opinion bears a lot of weight, but it, again, does not cement an outcome. And two, based off of the reporting requirements or the kind of the application for an Attorney General opinion, we would have to, as the majority party of council, basically draft a letter. All of the majority would have to sign that letter. We would have to provide the official minutes from our business, which unfortunately haven't been officially approved yet. So that would have to be after the next meeting. Our opposing council opinion would have to be included as part of that so they can see both sides. Generally speaking, the Attorney General won't render decisions on a kind of a dispute, but I define dispute as kind of one commissioner versus one party of staff. This one is, she puts more weight on it being a majority of the board that's seeking the opinion. So that's one avenue. Within the last meeting and this one, I reached out to a person who provided me this contact. I had a chance to speak with Ms. Sandridge. Her name's Halla Sandridge. She's based out of Tampa. She's a shareholder with Buchanan, Ingersoll, and Rooney. And I'll just read the first two paragraphs here in terms of her background, focus areas, and awards. Basically, with 35 years of appellate experience, Halla Sandridge has produced some of Florida's most significant appellate decisions, including cases certified by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals to the Florida Supreme Court and in the United States Supreme Court. She focuses on all facets of civil appeals and has directly handled hundreds of appeals in both state and federal appellate courts. Halla is one of the original Florida Bar Board certified attorneys in appellate practice. She is the chair of the firm's appellate practice group, co-head of the firm's Tampa office, and past member of Buchanan's board of directors. Halla is a strong leader in the legal and business community, including serving as the immediate past president of the Florida Bar Foundation and past chair of the Florida Bar Appellate Practice Section. Governor DeSantis recently reappointed her to the Florida Supreme Court Judicial Nominating Commission. In 2019, the Chief Justice of Florida Supreme Court appointed Halla to the IOTA Task Force to examine the use of IOTA funds used to provide legal services to the poor. She is also named 2019 Businesswoman of the Year by the Tampa Bay Business Journal. Halla currently serves as president of the University Club of Tampa, only the 6th woman to hold that title in its 75-year history. Within the packet, you can see focus areas that she's had in terms of her legal career, as well as, more importantly, case experience, which is pretty diverse in terms of her case experience and, more importantly, her case success. So this would be the other option in terms of our ability to have Ms. Sandridge represent the 4 that were in favor of seeking a declaratory judgment if the board and the administration would not find value in seeking the Attorney General's opinion. So I guess that's the first question to ask, is whether or not the chair would entertain an opinion by the Attorney General in terms of a finite interpretation of our opinion of the charter.
Sure.
Okay. And if that's good, we can go that route.
Okay.
I would then draft, if the board is comfortable, I can draft the letter outlining our stance as the majority. And if you're so inclined, we can sign that at the next meeting when the minutes are official. And then that way it gives time for our current, well, gives time to counsel to provide a rebuttal if he so chooses.
And let me ask that once we receive this opinion, whether it's favorable or not favorable, we're going to be done with this matter, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if that's the option that we're offering up, again, if we want to adhere to what the Attorney General will provide. Now, if the Attorney General comes back and says, I'm not going to render an opinion on this matter, I would like to still seek declaratory judgment so that we can get to an end of this situation. But based off of my reading of the application requirements, I think that we would have a case for her to render an official opinion.
Do we need a counselor to represent us in that capacity, or to do a state or federal attorney general opinion?
No, the only requirement is to have opposing counsel render their opposing decision or opposing point of view, which we can certainly package as part of that request to seek an opinion.
Okay.
So I just want to, I want to hear an official yes from the chair that you're okay with that. Okay.
Mr. Velasquez?
So it had to do with this, with the 3-2 vote. The other issue that I have that concerns me are all these television interviews where the chair keeps reinforcing that our vote is still ceremonial. And it's not ceremonial. I mean, it was an official vote. It was a 3-2. I don't want that vote continuously referred to as a ceremonial until we can get this settled.
Anything else?
So we're still on this with so now, once we write to the Attorney General, will there be any direct contact from us to her or the chair to her? How does that work?
We would submit through the channels that they have outlined within the Attorney General's parameters. And typically, the Attorney General will post their opinions within their website once they've made that determination. I'm assuming that we would get some sort of record back from that office. But and thanks for keeping on this topic. I guess the point of clarification, because I think the mayor's stance on when this was first discussed last meeting was the idea that the city would not foot the expense of an attorney for this purpose. I don't agree with that opinion unless state statute can be provided, because we're not suing the city to get some sort of monetary or some sort of benefit. We're seeking a official determination of our own charter from a legal perspective. So I would assume that if again, collectively as a board decided to go that route, we could also approve to expense that for that purpose. And I'll tell you that Ms. Sandridge is not cheap. Her hourly rate is not cheap. And so, but this is the determination that the chair needs to make of whether or not making that expenditure outweighs the will of this council.
Mr. Rodriguez, you wanted to?
I'm not, unless there's a legal interpretation on that.
Mr. Rodriguez?
I'd like to save my time for this during the city attorney's report after the council is done.
All right. Anything else?
Are you done? Okay. At the agenda review, I mentioned the Gannon report. And Mr. Varick said that I'm still under the cone of silence. Now, the bid was opened here. There was no bid. So why does the cone of silence still stand?
Until the finance department brings it forward to you all?
Are they going to bring it forward to us? There were no bids. It can't stand indefinitely, can?
No. but we do have to make an official, whether we
So when
decide
will
to
you bring
proceed.
it officially to us?
Well, let me share with you some updates.
Okay.
Okay. We have reached out to the companies that were following it and asked them why did they not submit a proposal. We've heard from one company and they said that they needed more time. Their project manager kind of needed more time. It was something going on with the project manager. The second question is, if we were to resolicit it, would you be interested in submitting a proposal? And that company said yes. So it's up to this council, just like we did with the investment advisor. Do we want to allow more time for companies to submit proposals? We can extend it.
So to what extent are we allowed to comment on this right now? I mean, can we only say that can we only talk about the time limit right now, or can we talk about the RFP itself?
Basically, I would say just talk about the time unless you make a decision to pull it and don't proceed with it, we could just at this point talk about the time.
I don't have an interest in extending the time.
Neither do I.
So there's three, that's fine.
So if we don't extend the time, then what?
And then you have to discuss what you want to do in regards to providing help, as you had suggested at one of the previous meetings.
But remember, I mean, the RFP language didn't call for what I think was intended on the last meeting the meeting that we called for the RFP.
So when does this RFP come back to it? Now that we say we don't want to offer any more time, what's the next steps now?
Our next step would be to pull it off and say that, it's canceled.
Okay, so we can do that tonight.
I don't know about tonight.
Right, but tomorrow.
But
And then
tomorrow.
we can discuss this openly next meeting then.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Great.
Anything else?
No, so do we take an official vote right now to kind of say we don't want to extend this RFP?
I mean, we pretty much just
Yep,
gave, we gave feedback,
I
so.
think I got the consensus.
Yeah, but I'd like to take an official vote on that.
That is up to,
So I make a move that we do not extend the RFP, and it's over.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez, second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay,
thank you.
anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right, Michael?
At this point, I have serious concerns about the direction this council is taking and the means of which certain things have just been communicated. I ultimately fear that I can no longer ethically represent this council. I fear that this council could be on the verge of conducting ultra-various action, and I cannot ethically remain as its city attorney. Therefore, I'm tendering my resignation so I can save you some money. I will make arrangements and discussion. I will make arrangements with the Human Resources Director to finalize the matters. I'll save you the time. I'll assist in the transition to bring in a successor council. And I will basically tender my resignation and proceed forward pursuant to Florida state statutes.
Okay. Chuck, do you have anything on the administrator? Okay, all right. Couple of things. We've got supervisor elections is coming in the next city council meeting, or excuse me, on the June 7th council meeting to give us our options on presentation for the annexation vote. Next up, budget workshop dates. We have on Monday, July 24th, public services at, I think they're at 5:30. I don't have the time. Maybe, I don't know if the time's been set, but I know in the evening, Tuesday. Is it 5 o'clock? Okay. So, I'm sorry, this says 5 o'clock. I am so sorry. Yes, so Monday, July 24th, public services. Tuesday, July 25th, community development, economic development, parks and recreation, and administration. On Wednesday, July 26th, Information Technology and Public Safety. Next up, shout out to our HR Director, Joe Patton, just completed his doctor's degree. He is now Dr. Patton, so. And I want a big shout out to Bobby Howe, coming back from Lake County to be back with us here at the Planning Department. Also, I was able to attend a couple of matches for Alicia Nova. She got it all the way to the finals of the state tennis championship. Lost in the final, but she was an amazing player to watch, and will be back again next year. So we're looking forward to great things from her. It's April 30th through May 6th is Municipal Clerks Week. It's a week-long series of activities aimed at increasing the public awareness of municipal clerks and the vital services they provide for local government and the community.
What week is that?
Thank you, Susan.
What are the dates again?
April 30th through May 6th. Thank you, Susan, for what you do.
That's it.
All right, next up, DOT. We got a ribbon cutting on Tuesday, June 6th, 2023, 9 a.m., corner of Main Street and Central Avenue. Our partnership with DOT to improve that corridor between Central and down to the 451. We're going to be at the corner of Central and Main, 9 o'clock. Come one, come all. Prayer breakfast tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:30. We'll have you out of there by 8:30. Got a great speaker. And also at noon, we'll have a prayer event at City Hall, the steps of City Hall. Some sad news, former Commissioner and State Representative Fred Brummer has passed away. He will surely be missed. What a wonderful man that did a lot for our community. We have a active transportation network workshop scheduled to gather ideas and input from the public regarding needed network connectivity, scheduled for Thursday, May 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the VFW. And some great news from the budget part of state legislature. It's official now. Other than the governor's, hope he doesn't line item veto, we got 3 things in the budget this year. We got $5 million for aquatic weed control for Lake Apopka. Big shout out to the folks over there at Friends of Lake Apopka and Joe Dunn and his team for helping push that forward. That's for hydrilla control. It's a balance between boaters, fishermen, duck hunters, and just enthusiasts. So trying to maintain the hydrilla to a manageable level is a chore. Next up, we got trails money. We got $2 million in the budget to complete the trail, the West Orange Trail from Lester Road to the Neighborhood Lakes trailhead in Lake County. A big shout out to Senator Broder, Senator Baxley, and Representative Bankson for their help in making that happen. And we also have in the budget $2.5 million for the flood protection to help us with Border Lake, Lake Page, and Lake Pleasant to remove that lake, the water off the lake, be able to close down the drainage wells and to turn that stormwater into reclaimed water for our benefit. So with that, call a vote.